March 16, 2015. The time is now 7 p.m. This is a meeting pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, which was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. I would remind all members of the public that we have 3 fire exits in council chambers, 1 to each side of the dais and 1 to the rear. In addition, we are being recorded by audio and video so that we can create a public record during the public portion of the meeting. If any member of the public wishes to be heard, they need only identify themselves and they can make a statement or ask a question. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Burke? Here. Councilman Cole? Councilwoman Steve? Here. Councilman Young?
Here.
Councilman
Present.
Councilman Paparello?
Present.
Please let the record reflect that Councilman Cole and Borough Attorney Thomas Barlow are also present.
All right, we have Borough Administrator's topics this evening, which are on the work session agenda, beginning with the BCUA Wastewater Management Capacity Assurance Plan.
Mayor, if I may, we received a letter from the Bergen County Utilities Authority, who have been conducting a survey among member municipalities to determine whether the municipalities had an ordinance prohibiting rain-derived infiltration and inflow into our sewer system. They indicated in their letter that they did not think that River Edge had such an ordinance. I have distributed a copy of what they consider to be their model ordinance to the mayor and council, as well as what we have on the books. We do have an ordinance which, by reference, indicates that our residents shall abide by the rules and regulations of the Bergen County Utilities Authority, which does prohibit certain types of discharges. In addition, our ordinance also lists prohibited discharges into the sewers, and we have a penalty and violation section as well. Where we may be lacking in terms of the model is whether we have an ordinance that really goes to certificate of occupancy, where an inspection is made to determine whether any improper discharges are going into the sewer system. I'm happy to report, though, that the sewer subcommittee, I think, began a practice of perhaps, I'll say 15 or 20 years ago, of asking the Construction Code Official's Office upon a CO to make this type of inspection and to make the correction where they found it to be in violation. So the sewer subcommittee has looked at this, and we brought it to the council to determine whether you would like to amend our ordinance, or certainly, I know, Mayor, you've suggested sending correspondence back to the BCUA, bringing them up to date in terms of what our ordinance does have in effect. Right?
Our ordinance is 342-1 at SEC. There's a section 342-6 that specifically speaks about rainwater and leaders and gutters and roofs that I think it goes above and beyond what the BCUA requirements are, and that we should just write a letter back telling them that our existing ordinance complies. But if you want to give it to Mr. Sarlo so that he can draft the appropriate response and/or an amendment to our existing ordinance, that would be fine. Anybody have any discussion? No. You want to have Tom take a look at it?
Yeah, we can take a look at it to see if we're lacking on the CO side, and if not, then we can write the letter.
We'll send a letter and see what their response is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Next is stormwater training.
Thank you, Mayor. I've received responses to date from Councilwoman Bastide. Anthony's not here tonight, and Ed has also, Councilman McGowan has also done the
And I
training.
also took it as well.
Oh, and you take it,
Yes.
but I just haven't had it. So, again, we're just asking everybody to do the stormwater training online. We will send out the information once again, and I do have a May 2nd deadline on that, so we would appreciate your completing that as soon as possible.
All right, very good. Employment practice liability training, that's another GIF program.
Yes, Mayor, if I may, we sent out the online training You can do this online. The borough will receive a $250 training credit against our assessment. So as soon as that can be completed, it should be completed by June 1st. We'll send out the information again, asking you to do the training. It is fairly lengthy, but again, we do get credit for it. And this would be opposed to going to another location and taking the training in person.
All right. Let's see if we can get that done by June 1st. Next, is Mr. Costa here? Not yet?
No, he's been walking
Mayor,
out.
He was here.
Yeah, he was walking
Shortly.
out.
Yeah, well, I'd like to ask that that be tabled tonight. Mr. Costa was going to have a meeting with the county engineer to discuss the funding of the grant for the sidewalks and the engineering expenses related to the Americans with Disabilities Act ramps on Kivixack Road. That meeting did not take place, so he would prefer that we hold off on the report on that matter.
All right. Okay, the next, last item on the Borough Administrator's topics is the 2015 budget amendments. We all received a memo from Mr. Negrian regarding the unanticipated liabilities that the borough has. Alan?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Those budget amendments fall into three areas. One is an additional $16,000 roughly in health benefits for 2 employees who were recently hired this year. Those were lacking off of the schedule that I had put together, so I apologize for that mistake, but we do have to provide the funding for that. We've also had an additional $4,800 in billings to the county for the snow and ice control. That will be offset by revenue, so I don't think that's a great issue here. That's more of a mechanical thing in amending the budget. And then the snow and ice control did exceed by $21,000 roughly the amount that we had put into the introduced budget for snow and ice control. We had put $42,000 in there, and we ended up spending $63,396. There is one other additional issue that I wrote a memorandum to the mayor and council on that you may want to talk about tonight, and that is the stairway at the rear of Cherry Hill School. When we get to that item, I can give you a little background on it. I see the fire chief is in the audience also. The school district has asked us to take a look at that in terms of making repairs or replacing that stairway back there.
Is that discussed under new business?
That could be discussed under our budget amendments, because if you were so inclined, we would need a 5% down payment amount to put into the capital budget. So that would be an increase to the capital budget of about $1,200.
All right. Okay.
So those are the 4 areas that we're looking at tonight.
Councilman Papaletti?
Alan, I just want to ask, are these stairs unsafe? How long have they been unsafe, or is it simply something that we should be considering? So where does it sit along that continuum of unsafe, immediate repair, and something we should be considering?
Well, I don't feel that I'm the qualified person to make that statement as to whether they're unsafe or not, but I can tell you the history was, as best
I read the history, actually.
Okay. As best I can recall, is that they were put in there as another means of egress for the school while it was under construction. They were constructed by the contractor for the school at the time. The fire, police, ambulance all had looked at that situation and thought it was necessary at that time. Whether it's on borough property or school property, I guess that I'm not prepared to answer at this time.
Because that was going to be my second question.
But that construction, was many years ago. They were constructed out of wood at the time.
Oh, my God. But for $25,000, if I read the paperwork correctly.
No, I think that was a quote to replace them with some sort of a steel stairway,
Maybe I misunderstood.
if I'm not mistaken, because there were discussions back in 2007 as to whether replacement of wood in kind, concrete, how would a ramp be necessary, would it be stairs, how would they be maintained, DPW would have to, do snow and ice control on it, et cetera.
That would have been my third question. If we're constructing steps, do they need to be ADA?
There were many questions back several years ago when we looked at this, and it's one of the reasons probably why we didn't reach a conclusion at that time. Plus, the stairs may not have been in that state of deterioration. The one thought I did have when this request came to us is I thought perhaps our essential services could evaluate the need for those stairs at this time. Remember that they were done during construction because there was construction fencing up and there wasn't, a second means of egress for these school children to get out. That may not be the case today, and it may, maybe those stairs can be removed and the slope can be maintained as, just an open area for the exit. But that I would leave to the essential services to at least come back with a recommendation and kind of update you on that.
The school has a designated board architect on a yearly retainer. Let the board architect evaluate the staircase and whether or not it's still a required means of egress, and if it is, which I suspect it still is, what should be done so that it complies with present codes in effect. Because that's where the liability lies, in the compliance with the codes in effect. And they have the professional on a retainer.
I recall speaking to residents of June Court during the political campaign, and the residents that I spoke to indicated to me that the gate at the top of the steps was supposed to remain locked, and the steps were only to be used in the event of an emergency.
But if they're locked, how you get to the steps?
I think we have to
that's why-
answer the question, first of all, is it on borough property? Second of all, I think we have to answer the question, is the steps in need of repair, or is this simply a view towards maintenance? Third question I think we have to answer is, should those steps remain there? And then the fourth question I think we have to answer is, what would be, as Councilman Aquafredo said, what would bring them up to code?
The third and fourth questions are actually the first question that we need to suggest to the school that they find out through their own architect.
Yeah, I agree.
Let him.
Maybe they don't need the steps anymore.
But yes, all right. Maybe so. Let them look into the codes and find out if they still need the steps or not. That's not a determination I'm ready to make unless I go there myself and look at the situation and then see exactly what the code requires, which I'm not going to do.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the code.
And what?
I'm talking about since they're not, it doesn't look like they're on school property. So if it is on borough property, and the residents of that community that I have just spoken to indicated to me that those steps were only temporary, and if we decide without any input from the June Court that we're going to make them ADA compliant and put up steel steps, things like that, we could have some residents here saying, why are you building these steps when they were only supposed to be there during construction?
But that all bets are off. The moment you look at the steps, you have to ascertain whether it's still a required means of egress. Whether the means of egress then falls on school property or on our property, that's a secondary issue. The primary issue is determine if that stair is still a required means of egress and if it complies with present code regulations. That's why I want an evaluation done by the school-owned professional. That then will dictate to us the course of action, because we may even have to grant them a permission to have their required mean of egress staircase on our property. So that's all. That's the point I'm trying to make.
over there?
I don't know. I need a property survey to determine that.
So, I don't know.
Did we ever give them this document, maybe in the past when they did this?
What document?
The allowance for the egress. Did they ever come forward previously?
We still haven't determined that it is our property. At least I didn't see that in the documentation.
I don't know. Don't know the answer.
It's easily solved. Just let the professional look into it.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion that we
Ask the school architect.
ask the school to ask their retained architectural professional to evaluate the existing conditions at that exit and ascertain whether it's still a required means of egress, and what needs to be done so that the existing staircase complies with the present code in effect to be a required means of egress.
Should that include asking if they have a current survey so we can see if the property
Well,
is school property?
he should come back to us with his evaluation and proper documentation. And I don't even want to touch the ADA issue. Let him worry about the ADA issue.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
If I may, we're now dealing with the two other financial amendments that would have an impact of about $37,000. In my memorandum, I recommended that the taxes be increased by $10 to offset that.
Ed?
I'm not in favor of raising the taxes on this. I preliminary to discuss some options with Alan, and I'll make my recommendations now, and we can look at them and go forward. I think two things we can do is we can make a slight adjustment on the revenue estimate side. What I'm going to propose is about a change of about 0.5% upwards in our total revenue projections for 2015. Fees and costs I'd raise from $110,000 to $115,000. Parking lot from $25,000 to $26,500. UCC fees from $215,000 to $216,500. And
Can you say that one again?
the UCC from $215,000 to $216,500, increase of $1,500, and an increase in the delinquent taxes from $335,000 to $340,000. That would pick up $13,000. I would make up the balance by increasing the amount of money we're going to use from capital surplus, probably around $10,000, to reduce the capital improvement fund line. And accordingly, since we're going to use that to pay as we go, I would make a corresponding decrease in the deferred charges unfunded by the same amount, for another $10,000. That gets us pretty
The difference is
close.
about 14 or 15, whatever the difference.
Whatever the difference is, yeah, to get us to where we need to be.
Can you repeat the deferred charges one again?
Whatever the difference, it'd be about 14, or, yeah, 12 or 13,000. And that gets us back to where we were.
Is there any second on Councilman Mignon's budget motion? There's a second. Any further discussion? No? Roll call?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Vito?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor, takes care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank Councilman Mignon for a good job in tweaking the budget once again.
Just don't bring any more out, please.
No, please, let this be it.
All right, let's see. We have our OEM coordinator here and our police chief. Let's hear from Police Chief Caridi regarding towing and parking, and whether he wants to offer an opinion on our continuing discussion regarding the 24-hour ordinance.
Oh, we're doing this, not this,
Where do you want to start, Mayor?
Yeah, we asked you to appear because there were some complaints from residents regarding the past snowstorm and the southern portion of, I guess, Bogart Road, and was it Valley? No.
Yes, it was Valley, it was by the schools.
Where cars were towed, and the complaints were that they were towed I don't know, maybe you could state it better, Councilwoman.
It seems that there was a lot of confusion about the ordinance. There was people by the school that were towed, that they were towed at like 4:30, even though it had been plowed, and it was clear, and then they got towed, and then the plow never came back again. Valley seemed to have a lot of people getting towed. So, and the ordinance was right there on the sign, and they were towed regardless of that. So just to clear it up, it seems that the tow companies kind of raked people for cash. As you were saying, that if the tow company moves your car, you pay $50 every time they move it. You know, they had like exorbitant fees during this towing. So I would like to know where people
I'm
got...
not aware of any complaint that had been issued concerning the tow companies and any type of practices. The ordinance that we have in effect that's very recent covers in-depth predatory towing practices and guards against that. And if I will certainly look into that and see if there were any instances where anybody was either gouged for their pricing or there was cash being taken.
Because people have sent me pictures of their cars, and there were some cars that were not towed and some cars that were unfortunately towed, and it seemed like the enforcement was like all over the place with the towing.
There was, what I'm familiar with respect to this particular storm, and you and I have actually had this conversation in the past, and I tried to clarify to you on behalf, I guess, some constituents that had contacted you. If you recall, on a given date on one side of the street, it was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you know, after midnight and it becomes Monday, and there's snow on the road, they're subjected to being towed. What we tried to guard against from the police department standpoint is having a situation where we'll tow cars and then the DPW is not in coordination with our towing efforts, and then the road then doesn't get towed. So we work closely with them in trying to coordinate those areas so that they are towed. In this last particular storm, one thing that I did become aware of is there were sections where, unfortunately, the DPW had gone in and plowed in and out along the street instead of waiting for the cars to be removed, so it could have gone curb to curb. In an instance where that happened, there were some people that saw, well, the plows cut in, cut out, cut in, cut out, and left them with areas where the road appeared to have been plowed already, and then people went back and parked, and then the DPW came by and said, we want to do the roadway, you know, to the curb and have the vehicles removed. So we found out that was happening while it was happening, went down and addressed that. So in instances where we didn't feel it was fair to somebody who potentially found themselves in that position, we refrained from having some vehicles towed. But it was only for factors such as that the decision was made. There was absolutely no input from the tow service on whose car got towed and who didn't. That's at our discretion. And that, as I said, is normally done relatively problem-free with the coordination between the police and the DPW.
Ellen?
It's particularly challenging around the two elementary schools where you have employees who are required to come to work and park on the streets and yet still have to comply with our snow removal ordinance. So I would just encourage there be better coordination so that we avoid having teachers and school employees and parents who are visiting, you know, be towed when they maybe don't have to be towed. If we can kind of coordinate that a little bit better, because we have parking, parking challenge.
There's absolutely a challenge there because there just isn't the room. But there aren't any instances where we're having these storms where we're not in contact with the schools. We're on.
We had a lot of teachers.
We did hear from some teachers who were towed, and it was unfortunate.
We make calls to the schools, and the problems being, though, that there's cases where the DPW is coming through. The road has become so narrow. Take Continental Avenue, for example, as you're getting toward Brookwood Road. The road is so narrow to start with, and then you have vehicles parked on both sides, and you have a DPW truck trying to come down and clear the roadway.
Do you have a listing of how many cars were towed? Do you have that information?
I don't have it with me tonight, but I think we may have towed somewhere in the vicinity of 60 cars.
60?
Yeah, I believe so.
Just in that one, the last storm?
Throughout the last storm, yeah.
Wow. And were we only using one tow operator, or how did it work? The police were contacted and they sent the tow?
We contacted there's a tow operator that works on a rotational basis, but if they can't accommodate enough vehicles, we'll have to do overflow through the next operator on the list. So, but if there are any specific complaints that, as I said, that involve any instances, as the council, you know, may well be aware, there have been situations in the past where we've gone after tow companies, and we will take drastic measures to ensure that it doesn't happen. I won't allow.
Yeah, I'll get the information, because I got so many complaints about the fee and all the extra charges, and it just piled up to an exorbitant amount of money. And you know, we want to be fair to our people.
Absolutely.
Ed?
Do we have a map or something that shows where these towed areas are by ordinance, or it's anywhere
posted
you
on
decide it's
signs.
going to be? I'm sorry?
It's posted on the signs.
It'll say Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
But there's nowhere, like, we don't have a map that we can say, put online and say, if you live on one of these streets or live next to one of these streets, these are streets that are potentially, if you're parked there, you could be towed. We don't have anything like that where, because, I think signs are fine, but people are, especially during a snowstorm, aren't necessarily paying attention to the signs that are there. I'm just wondering if there's a better way that next year we can just make sure that people are aware, like we talked about, alternate signs, certain, but...
The ordinance itself, I guess, was expanded in 2011 to compromise an additional, I think, dozen or so streets. We can certainly make some notation on the borough's website concerning that. I think it's too long of a message, for the its entirety to be put on the communications board, but we certainly could add something to the website.
We could put a
at least
link on.
People are aware of it, at least then you can at least send it out saying, if you're on a towable street, be aware, at least so,
Yeah.
there's some kind of notification, because I think...
And that
something
has
that's-
also, correspondingly gone out by Nixle message and, many, many times over the course of this winter. In addition, requesting people not only to adhere to the places where it's governed by ordinance and the vehicle can be towed, but in order to facilitate better roadway clearing for the rest of the town to try and get the vehicles off the street as much as possible. But again, we're
But I think
getting an issue
it
where...
wouldn't hurt to try to just clarify it for...
Yeah.
And before the season comes, so people are aware of that.
And I'm not sure if our ordinance also includes, like how many hours after the snow has been cleared, is it okay to go back, because people were having confusion about that.
Yes.
Like, I went back and I thought it was good, and then it wasn't.
If they're still, if they're still plowing, they're still plowing. I mean, you may have a snowfall and then you get hit with 10 inches of snow in a couple hours and then that's it, and you're not getting any more snow. And then we've had situations where it's been snowing for 24 hours, lighter snow, but, over a course where the plows are out consistently, and the road's snow covered, it's snow covered. So the DPW is still out there plowing, we're still potentially going to be towing.
Can we get a list for next meeting, where the cars were towed from?
Sure.
The streets?
That's all in our...
And like, not just the 60 this time, but even the ones that went back from the first snowstorm? Because there was, a big complaint about selective streets, like some people were okay, and then some people, it wasn't, so.
I mean, I can assure you, we'd have no reason to be selective about, targeting one area as opposed to another. It's only the coordination that we have with the DPW and the pattern that they're taking in terms of clearing the street. We let them guide that to the degree that, as I said before, we don't want to just go in and immediately just start towing cars and then find that for a variety of reasons, equipment availability, amount of salt spreaders, emergency situations that the DPW may be handling, that they're not going to get to that area and then tow it. Because I do recognize it would be very frustrating for someone to have their vehicle towed and then look outside and just watch snow continually accumulate and wonder why it was towed. So we do try to avoid that.
I guess the one instance was on Lakeview where a gal got her car towed, and then she sent me a picture with 2 other cars covered in snow that weren't towed. That was right, behind the other one. So that was kind of, I guess, frustrating for her, because why was that happening,
Unless, again, as I said, the only explanation I know of about where some cars were towed and some hadn't had to do with the plowing being done in and out, and then we addressed that live, real time as it was happening, when we became aware of it that day.
Do you think there's what improvements can be made to the ordinance to, better serve for clarification? So we can just make everything crystal clear and,
I really wish we could get all the vehicles off all of the streets during the, the snowstorms, that I've suggested,
Right, with the apartments and putting up
added lots of
parking spots and
apartment
everything.
areas and people widening driveways and a 5-year phase-in, and every year I just can't help but think if, that had been undertaken some time ago, we wouldn't be having this discussion now.
I think we should review the towing ordinance as well, have another good look at that, because it seemed to be outrageous. So I would like to I think we should all look at it.
Which ordinance? You mean
The towing.
the snow-covered ordinance or the towing ordinance?
First the towing, well, both, but the towing in particular.
You mean the towing rates?
Yes, it seems a bit egregious,
All right, well,
so.
offer council suggestion.
That was put into effect, if I'm not mistaken, in 2012,
Just,
I believe,
yeah,
or
just
13.
2 years ago.
13.
I think we should have another crack at it. So,
That was in response to the anti-predator statute.
Yes.
The borough responded to that by revising the ordinance to comply with the state statute, as I recall.
But I'd like to see your list, and so we can see what areas are mostly impacted, and I think it's more of a notification issue than necessarily an ordinance issue, I think.
well, I would say notification, but also a fee thing. I would like to really look at that again, because I think that it was really just exorbitant, what people were paying.
Yeah, I don't know how the towing rates are set, or whether ours is consistent with other towns, but that's certainly something we would...
It's impacting our residents, and the tow operator is gaining the income, so.
All right, Chief, while you're here, could you just brief council and the public on last week's temporary shutdown of the New Jersey Transit line and the capture of a fugitive in town? Whatever you could tell us about it.
Yeah, there had been a pole fire adjacent to one of the railroad crossings, which shut down the entire Raritan Valley line. It began around a little before 6 in the morning. We sent out notifications regarding the shutdown of the line. Additionally, it was covered by all the network news stations. Arrangements were made to move train riders by bus, trying to get them to their destinations. And about an hour or so after that was underway, we received notification that the U.S. Marshal's Office, in connection with the Drug Enforcement Agency, were executing a warrant on an individual wanted in connection with a double homicide who had been in New York City, and they tracked him to a location in Hackensack. At the time of attempting to effect an arrest, the party was able to escape to a vehicle, smashed into a couple of parked cars, took off on foot, and ran into River Edge. At that point in time, we alerted other surrounding agencies, received assistance from the Bergen County Police, State Police, and helicopter out there were en route. The Milford and Corriedale Police responded as well, and while we had cordoned off an area where the party had last been seen down by Route 4 westbound Marginal Road, K-9 units from the Sheriff's Department and from the County Police concentrated on the area and were able to pick up a scent. And at the end of Davis Drive by Oswego, in fact, I was at Davis and Oswego when I saw a flurry of activity at the end of Davis Drive adjacent to the highway, and the individual was flushed out of a culvert there by the highway, and then was taken into custody without further incident.
All right, thank you. And lastly, we're going to continue a discussion on the borough's hours of operations ordinance. And at the last time that we discussed this, Councilman Mignon asked if there was any input from law enforcement or from you particularly regarding the need or the potential need, given the fact that in the south end of town we're going to get probably 10 new stores. There's an approval for a convenience store on Kinderkamak Road that may be a 24-hour type of operation, and how, if anything, would that affect your budget or law enforcement, or if there are any particular concerns that you would have about that? Council would like to hear your opinions.
24-hour businesses do pose, their own special set of problems from a policing standpoint, specifically that we want to ensure that those staff members who are working around the clock are safe. They're generally in an environment where there are far fewer staff than during the daytime hours, making them potentially more susceptible to a robbery at that location. And it's based on that that mindset that the ordinances are already in place that govern how 24-hour businesses in town operate. For example, they have to have a minimum of 2 people on staff. They have to have adequate security cameras in place, as well as an alarm system. And that's determined by the police department's review of their particular systems. And I'll give you a fairly recent example. At McDonald's, when they went to move from to a 24-hour drive-through, even though it was a drive-through window as opposed to going in and out of the store, they needed to comply with that 24-hour portion of the ordinance. We went down and we met with the McDonald's. We told them what the holdup was going to be until their camera system was put into place, and they were able to put together a state-of-the-art camera system that really takes captures fantastic images of vehicles in the drive-through, as well as the occupants of the vehicle plate numbers, etc. So they were able to meet that standard, and they were granted the ability to stay open. Another place that we have where they're open 24 hours at the BP gas station is a situation where you have a booth that someone's in that's they're almost locked into that booth, except if they're out actively pumping gas. And then Dunkin' Donuts recently went the other way, and based on essentially it seems a lack of business, they went from 24 hours to closing earlier in the evening. Some towns still have the Dunkin' Donuts that are open 24 hours. This particular location wasn't making enough money to sustain the 24-hour time frame. Convenience stores themselves differ from those places I just mentioned because of the number of people that are going to come in and out of the business. River Edge Diner has been open 24 hours for in excess of 30 years, and even with the addition of their liquor license, there's been no problems generated from the diner with respect to their service of alcohol. We do have people that will come there, however, after leaving other bars and establishments, and that's where sometimes the fights and other issues take place. But the diner, even at early morning hours, is generally populated by quite a number of people. Convenience stores themselves can pose a problem because you're generally just going to have the 2 staff members, and if you look at some of the ones around us, whether it's in New Milford or you have Quick Check in Emerson, in fact, New Milford just opened a second one.
It's on River Road over there.
Yeah.
That's been open a couple of years.
Yeah, about 3 years now, I think. The one has been opened by Henley.
Yep.
That's their second location. And if you look at it strictly from a law enforcement standpoint, in terms of the danger to the parties that are in the business, they're second only to cab drivers in terms of people being injured in their line of work, in terms of subjected to robberies. So when it does happen, it can be quite devastating. If any of these places that are opening at the very minimum are going to have to be subjected to what's been put in place already in terms of a security review by the police department. I would never feel comfortable just rubber stamping someplace because we've had successful businesses already open. I'd want to really make sure that we're able to provide adequate security measures and able to respond to whatever situations are likely to develop.
Would you say that Kinderkmack Road is traveled most by the police when they're driving around at nighttime? Would that be their busiest place to drive?
There's certainly a marked police presence on Kinderkmack Road because there's a lot of other, vehicular traffic. But, officers are also trained to be patrolling the remainder of town, too, to make sure that, there aren't things happening in the inner portions of town where there may be burglaries or car break-ins or other things taking place as well. But Kinderkmack is certainly well-traveled. And convenience stores and other businesses that are in, whether they be strip malls or whether they be shopping centers that are adjacent to busy roadways, generally have a reduction in their being a target for robberies. But you have to look at each location specifically and make those determinations. That's why when the new stores are coming in, we do take a look at the blueprints that are there. We take a look at what we see as potential response problems, getting to a given location, how long it might take to get to some place where our officers are generally stationed, those types of factors.
I actually went over to the Milford 7-Eleven and asked them if they've ever been robbed, and they've never been robbed, daytime or nighttime.
Which one?
The one over by Henley.
Yeah, the other one was robbed in 2012. Party went in with a handgun. Turned out to be a pellet pistol later, but he and his girlfriend robbed the one on Boulevard. He was apprehended a few days later, but I know that one had been robbed.
Because we actually even had that bank that was robbed during the daytime, right? The Hudson Bank.
Oh yeah, I mean that's.
So that was a daytime robbery.
We've had. One year alone, we had, I think, six bank robberies between Hudson and PNC South.
Seems like the banks have one.
You go where the money is.
That's where the money is.
Yeah.
If the banks were open 24 hours, they'd be robbed at wee hours of the morning.
There are ATMs you can drive up to.
That's why banks close.
We also had a gentleman shot at the ATM machine at PNC South while making a night deposit at about 2 o'clock in the morning. He survived, but that was about close to 20 years ago now.
So right now, under the current ordinance, it's really the police department that approves a business to be open 24 hours based upon the security, the camera system and the burglar alarm?
Yes.
And their ability to have 2 employees?
Yes.
So that's done by the police department?
Correct.
And those standards would be the same no matter where in the municipality the business were located? If it was next to a residence, the same standards would apply as to whether the business was down in the new shopping center?
Each location may present its own unique set of security concerns.
Right.
But the fact that it would have to meet acceptable concerns, as examined by the police department, would apply to every location.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was an apartment building right next door or a house right next door, you'd look for the same things: 2 employees, a burglar alarm, and an adequate camera system.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the chief? No? Thanks, chief. Is Mr. Little here? Mr. Little, you want to come up? Could you just state your name and address for the record?
Bob Little, 478 Windsor Road.
Mr. Little, I understand you filed a letter or an appeal to the governing body regarding an allegation that your tax payment was delinquent or interest. Do you want to explain?
What happened was, let me just give you, you got a copy of the letter.
Yes, we
One
did get a copy
addendum
of the
I'd like to
letter.
add to that. This involves the fact that we wrote a check, I dropped it off at the borough to pay taxes. The addendum I'll put on this is that the account that check was drawn out of, the day of the withdrawal and prior to that, had over $4,300 in the account. The day after I wrote that check, there was over $5,000 in that account. Money was in the account. I wrote the check, I brought it down with the pink piece of paper. The office was closed. I had it in an envelope with the check. And I went downstairs, went over to drop it off in the box, that's what it said. Shut down in the past. And while I was there, I ran downstairs to see Bobby Conway, because Bobby and Jimmy are very close friends of mine. I've known them since we were kids, or Jimmy since we were kids. And we were talking, and Bobby said, "What are you doing in Borough Hall?" I said, "Just dropping off the taxes. I'm going to drop the taxes off." And went upstairs, and when I went up, Eddie McDermott's in the window. Eddie and I went through kindergarten all the way through high school, and we were stopping to see Eddie, and I said, "Eddie, are you going to go to the 50th reunion for Riverdale?" And he said, "Yeah." We started talking. He said, "What are you doing in the office?" I said, "I'm just dropping taxes off." He said, "You need an envelope?" I said, "No, I got an envelope." So I walked over 6 feet, dropped it in the mailbox. About a week later, I got a notice from the town that we were delinquent in the taxes. That was on a Friday. Monday morning, I came down, said to the young lady downstairs, "This is crazy." I said, "I'll write you another check. Obviously you lost the check. Write the check." She goes, "Well, if I take the check, we're going to deduct $44 and change as a penalty." I said, "But I dropped the check in the box." She said, "Well, you have to go upstairs." So I went up and talked to Alan, and Alan said I had to write a letter of appeal, which I did. And then I talked to two of my legal people, and they said, "As an act of good faith, pay the taxes." Taxes are paid. And that was it. And basically, when you take a look at this thing, I got there, I put it in the box, and I left. Somewhere between the box and over here, a check or a piece of paper was dropped. It may be lost to them. The other thing is, I've lived in this town since 1949. I've been paying taxes on my home since 1978. I have made 144 consecutive tax payments and never missed one. So I'm asking you people to realize that a check was lost and the taxes are paid, and I'd like to be able to go home and take my grandchild down South Jersey. Simple as that.
Yeah, it seems like there's just an oversight. I think we should
Make a motion to waive
pay
the
his 44
tax penalty?
Well, the penalty was paid already, so you
So
have
we're
to...
waiting.
No, the penalty has not been paid.
No, it's in dispute.
The taxes are paid.
Yeah.
Well, they
So-
accepted a check for you
Mayor, if I
of
may.
just the base amount of the taxes? Alan?
If you want to provide relief to Mr. Little,
Right,
you will have a resolution before you tonight. I have a copy of it here,
right.
which will provide for the cancellation of $39.40, which is the equivalent of the interest that was due and owing by Mr. Little.
Okay.
The state statute requires that when taxes are paid and there is delinquent interest, that the interest be taken first.
Right.
So what remains is the balance of the taxes, which can be canceled tonight by passage of this resolution. I have a copy of it for you. I'll be happy to pass it out if the motion passes.
Is it on
Make
the,
a motion to...
Is it on the agenda?
No, it's not on the agenda. It'll have to be added to the agenda, but
All right, who-
resolution.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? We all heard from the resident. Come here in good faith. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Alan, I'd like to thank you for your help as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thomas, how are you? I'm doing very well. I gotta go to Hamilton, New Jersey. With a year and a half.
Copy of the resolution. Mr. Tom Smith.
Gesture. not unusual stuff, I just wanted to say it. Since most of you never get to see the emergency management plan, I thought I'd bring it. This is what it looks like when I give it to the county.
Is that it? Because you only have 10 minutes.
I'm not going to talk much about that. I just wanted you to see it, all right? But I did have, well, first of all, I don't get an opportunity to talk to the mayor and council very often. And I just was going through the past year and so on and so forth. We were very, very fortunate that we did not have any real major emergencies within Riverage that required a major OEM activation. We activate in the bad weather. We activate times when there's multiple things going on, because it takes some of the pressure off the individual departments, especially on the communication side. Still, the police handle the largest majority of the communication, and that's why it works so smoothly all the time. But in those situations where the emergency management team can take a section of that communications away, it helps things go a little bit smoother during those emergencies. But I really wanted just to get a sense of what emergency management was about. I'm going to try to do that in as quickly as I can. First of all, it's an all-inclusive type of a plan. It talks about, it deals with flooding, it deals with terrorism, it deals with just about anything you can think of, and that's why all these different sections are there. The purpose of it is not for the group of few people that are in emergency management and how to do all of that or to do all of that. The purpose is to identify what the needs of the town could be during an emergency, so that we have the resources, we know where the resources are to reach out to them during that kind of an emergency. On the local level, what we've done in the past, and we're just about ready to start doing it again, is we work closely with Oradell, New Milford, and sometimes Paramus. And again, that's our mutual aid for the most part anyhow. And we just started discussing having an emergency management drill with at least Oradell, River Edge, New Milford, and potentially Emerson sometime within the next few months. It may be something to do with a mass evacuation. It may have something to do with, since the situation with the oil problems on the rails, where we do have a section of the Oradell Dam where there is a slight section where the trains do run there. Might make a very interesting drill for the firefighters to see where that is and what they would have to do in a situation up there. So we've started to work. We have meetings coming up as this begins to roll up itself and become a live activity. I'll mention it to the mayor and get the communications out to the council. I'd like very much for you to make yourselves at least have the opportunity to come on those drills. And we used to have one every year. When I was the coordinator from 1988 to 2000, we pretty much had an emergency management drill every year. We got away from that after 2000. I'll come back in last year, and I want to get it started again. I think it's a critical piece, because the Oradell, New Milford, and River Edge, we help each other out of fires all the time. But we don't often get the opportunity to help each other in those really large elements where everything goes wrong. Or in a case of where you have a fuel spill on Kennecott Road. That doesn't seem to be a major incident. It becomes one, because if it gets into the water, to the storm drains, and then into the river and so on, you can see how that could escalate. So we'll be doing that sometimes within the next 6 months. I would encourage all of you to come as soon as I know the date. I'll get the date to you. If you want to participate and be one of the victims or something else, we'll be glad to let you do that. Mayor, since really I'm in direct line to you. You're my direct boss on emergency management. I hope you can find the time to maybe come to some of the meetings and see how this evolves.
Absolutely. I thought there was a meeting last week, but I must have had something in my diary that wasn't,
Yeah.
that wasn't on.
Okay. I think you'll find that it's very interesting, and also will tell you a lot about your town.
Right.
Because if you think about it, Chief Caridi was just here now, and, you know, they handle so many things every day, day after day, hundreds and hundreds of things. But thank goodness, they're mostly the everyday thing. They're not major incidents. But at a turn of a screw, they could be in the middle of an emergency incident.
Yeah.
And that's why when we have the drills, I try to reach and get every department to come out, and all the department heads to come out as well, to see what's going on.
Tom,
Sure.
I recall playing a victim with like a broken leg. How many years ago was that, when you did the whole, like, people were dismembered and...
Well, we did a couple of different things.
This was a huge one.
You're talking about the one...
Here,
School?
yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a while ago. We even got a huge piece of aluminum and made it look like it was a part of a fuselage from a jet that was on the lawn over in the Roosevelt School. And how you learn things, we had one on the trains down here, New Jersey Transit, and we were all set to evacuate the victims with our backboard. Well, when we got into the train, and we went to put the backboard down where we thought it would go, which was in between the seats, too big, didn't fit. So every person we had to take out, we had to carry over the head. Now, we never would have known that had we not had that drill. Can you imagine if there really were 100 or 200 people in a train that had to be taken out, and you all had to be lifted above their head, above the rescuers' heads, and so on and so forth. So that was an element that we now know that we can't use that board unless that board is made smaller to fit through there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just learning one thing makes it all worthwhile with those drills. We also did it with running fuel. It wasn't fuel, it was just dirty water down into the storm drains, and followed the path of the storm drains out. It went to the river eventually, but it went to so many other places that we never thought it was going.
Right.
So there's a lot of learning on it, and we are going to try to do on an every year basis now the emergency drill like this, and I'll reach out to all the department heads and see if there's anything specific that they might have that they feel that they are perhaps, I don't like to use the word weak in it, but uncomfortable in it, or not really trained in it as much as they'd like to be, and we put together a training element for them, and one by one take each department and go through, and then come back again. And that, to me, would be the purpose of why the organization is there, and I would encourage all of Mayor and Council to anytime you have questions, I'm usually pretty easy to find in town, and come over to the OEM office, see what we have over there and how we have it laid out. It's open anytime you want it to be open.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Tom, for keeping the emergency management and mitigation plan up to date for us.
We're approved now for the next couple of years.
And thanks that we're approved. I know you're working on other projects for us regarding emergency generators and things like that. I think you're doing a very good job. We have to break down to go into our 8 o'clock meeting. We have a full agenda. You are on the 8 o'clock agenda. Of course, your position is up for reappointment. I hope you stick around.
Okay.
If it passes, I can swear you in.
Will do.
And that's good.
That's good. That's all I needed.
All right. The last thing I want to do for the work session is just approving the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the work session consent agenda that are probably resolutions on the 8 o'clock calendar. Could I have a motion to move the consent agenda?
So moved.
Question, Mayor?
Well,
Yes, Ed.
go ahead.
The issue with Mr. Costa, is that still going forward tonight, despite him not coming to talk to us?
That's my question, too.
Well, we still need to amend the contract, where the question was a question of reimbursement from the county. So the work will still need to be done. I think he has a favorable response on the construction side. He'll present that the next time he comes.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
That
Alan?
was my question.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn the work session? We can come back to it after the 8 o'clock meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Very good. If we want to get people from outside in to fill up the empty seats, we can begin our 8 o'clock meeting. Come on in, everybody.
We're up.
Just fill up as many seats as you can. I think I left off the seats.
We're trying to go around.
Only Vito could go. Another Vito is interrupting you.
All right, there's at least 4 seats up here in the front, and there's some in the back over there.
Church usher.
No, we were sitting in the front.
I got 2 more.
We were sitting in the front.
Caribbean, yes, he is.
I'm always afraid I'm standing, everyone else behind me sitting.
4 seats in the front, 4 seats in the front. Tom, you have to move over closer to your client.
That's what I'm saying, we're going to start counting heads now.
5 seats in the front row.
Because we have to create an ombudsman position. Officially, I'll even give it a little stipend, $5 each meeting or something. Hey, really? This is amazing.
Project to the ordinance on the budget. I would think it's more you have to motion.
Kathleen, she's the stage manager.
More than our side.
I don't think so. There's a couple last time from Elizabeth.
All right, I think that's it.
We amended this thing. It shouldn't be an issue.
You think so?
There's a lot of people, lawyers still haven't come in. Because I can't.
All right, we can begin the 8 o'clock regular meeting of the River Edge Mayor and Council for Monday, March 16th, 2015. The time is now 8 p.m. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend any meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall, filed with the municipal clerk, and published in the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services for the establishment and implementation of public policy, safeguarding our infrastructure, providing honest, courteous, and professional services to the public, establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this through research and prudent planning. We are sensitive to the needs of the taxpayers while realizing that the governing body cannot be all things to all people due to revenue constraints that have been imposed by state mandates, present economic condition, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. We are being recorded both by audio and video for purposes of making a public record during this meeting. If any member of the public wishes to be heard, they need only identify themselves and they can make a statement. There are 3 exits in council chambers, 1 to each side of me and 1 to the rear. It's blocked, but we won't tell the fire official.
Chief?
If we could all stand please for a moment of silent prayer and/or reflection. if Councilman Papaleo can lead us in a salute to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Control is absent. Councilwoman Matthews?
Here.
Councilman Young?
Here.
Councilman Ezekiel?
Present.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
Please let the record reflect that Mayor Sandy Muscarello and Borough Attorney Thomas Sorlow are also present.
All right, thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the work session meeting of February 17, 2015?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have one abstention. And can I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the mayor and council work session and the regular meeting of March the 2nd, 2015?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this evening we have with us Scout Pack 95 and 229. We are here to present them with a proclamation for the Three Rivers Klondike Derby first place. Can I have any members of the, what?
First and second.
First and second place. Can I have the troop leaders and any members of the packs
She's in the dash.
stand up front? Come on in, guys.
Mike, Will.
Everybody fill in
Come up
up
here.
here. Come on up, guys. Fill in right up here.
Will, where's your mom, Will?
No, they're stuck in the
Get Sue.
They're coming. Will, where's your mom?
Ed, you're a troop leader.
No, I'm not. My son's in the troop, that's all.
Are you not? You're not a troop leader?
No, I'm not.
By mistake.
There's one gal here.
Troop leader? Come on.
I'm sorry.
You put the troop.
We need one more.
Everybody here?
I'm waiting for the leader.
All right, some more leaders? Coming in?
And they accidentally...
Scott. You have Atlanta come. About 23 or 28, you know.
You got the magic.
This is great. This is great.
How do you feel?
Should deal with the fire.
All right. After I read the proclamation, you'll see what these young scouts had to go through to win these big trophies, first place and second place. We have...
Both first.
What?
Both first.
Both first. Okay. And we have 95, and you're 229? All right, here we go. Yep. All right, whereas Scout Packs 95 and 229 competed in the Three Rivers Klondike Derby, which was held February 28th at Camp Caw Mountains, and whereas 47 sleds competed, and Scout Division had a total of 25 sleds in their division, whereas the boys competed in 6 skill stations: fire building, first aid, team building, lashing, orienteering, and shelter building. And whereas the boys pushed and pulled a Klondike dog sled packed with all of their supplies up and down the trails of Camp Caw Mountain. And whereas the boys who made up Pack 95 Junior Webelow Huskies team were Eric Gorillo, Finn Kristen, James Mignon, John Forte, Kyle Wigdor, Matt Volmar, Nicholas Sybil, Scott Sybil, Ryan Weiss, and Will Ginch. whereas the Huskies were awarded 102 points out of a possible 120 points, giving them the first place championship. Whereas after their last station, the boys ran a sled race that gave them another first place. And whereas the boys who made up Pack 95 and 229's senior Weeblo team, the Klondike Crushers, were Ben Manassi Poles, Kieran Siegelman, Paul Motorite, Sean Kim, Sean Rafferty, and Vinny Perlowen? Vinny Perlowen. Whereas the Klondike Crushers were awarded 96 points out of a possible 120, giving them a second place victory. Now therefore be it resolved that as the mayor of River Edge and on behalf of the council, we do proclaim that Cub Scout Huskies and Klondike Crushers, their trainer, Kevin Press, their adult leaders, Joanne Seibel, Judy Volmar, Susan Ginch, Pat Rafferty, Melissa Borza, are hereby honored for their victories and their competition and taking first and second place in the 2015 Three Rivers Klondike Derby. Congratulations. Take this.
You know, I should get one.
Come on up to the side.
Way to go, boy.
Have a picture.
There was nothing we could do. This is the movie. We mean you lost it. We lost it.
Thank you. It was cold. It was cold. Thank you.
Big photo after night. Big photo op. Make it ripped at the polo seats. Great can store. My taste buds are coming back. I can taste chocolate. I can taste things a little bit on the sweet, spicy side. I can drink a carbonated drink and only on the side. Myself on with sushi and spicy mayo, like a dope, put it all in my mouth. Oh, you killed it. So spicy mayo. Bite my tongue.
I like to get the police promotion there to the public.
Yeah, just open it up.
I can't think, I just thought, we could diet.
Present, right?
Just open it and close it in case anyone had an objection.
All right. Let me do that. Can we, anybody, Lieutenant Walker, if we can get anybody from outside to fill in the empty seats?
Or you want to do sergeant?
You guys ever open the windows?
Yes.
Should I open a couple?
Is it warm back there?
It's really hot.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Has that been resolved?
Yes.
Listen,
Listen, we're still on the record. I would like to open to the public on any issue on the agenda. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody who is present tonight wish to speak on any particular agenda item? Any particular item on tonight's agenda? We're going to open back up again after we do the police promotions to speak on any issue.
We didn't get the agenda for the public session, just the work session.
We ran out of copies, Mayor. We'll have to have more made.
We're going to have to make some more. Can I have a motion to close this portion of the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have appointments and personnel changes, but we have some significant promotions on the agenda that I would like to recognize, even though they may be out of order, but beginning with the motion to approve the promotion of Police Officer Joseph Staros to the rank of sergeant in the Police Department at an annual salary effective March 16, 2015.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain, Mayor.
One abstention. All right, I have the oath of office. I don't know if Officer Staros brought his Bible, but I have a Bible. Joe, do you have a member of your family who you want to help? So we're going to do this. You stand right here, front and center. Good friend. Put the Bible right there. Well, you know what? We're going to do this. We'll let the family member hold the Bible. Anybody? Could you put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand? Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joseph Staros,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I state your name,
And I, Joseph Staros,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all the duties
of the office of sergeant
of the office of sergeant
in the River Edge Police Department
in the River Edge Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Jill signed it.
The judge in West Indian handled it. Shit. I want to go after the judge. It's real. It's right there. I want to go after the judge in Annabelle Township. Oh, what'd you do?
All right, we're going to let the chief put your sergeant's badge on.
And Joe.
Cameo.
It's like Rocky. Hey, that meat guy keeps saying.
Tom, we're gonna do the retreat. I'm serious about it. Talk to the mayor? Convince me. You don't have to convince me. No, but I'm saying, what do we have to do to get it done? Just, it's an extra meeting, right? Yeah, no, we have to do it public, yeah.
All right. Next, can I please have a motion to approve the promotion of Patrol Officer Craig Casey to the rank of sergeant in the River Edge Police Department, effective March 16th, 2015.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain, Mayor.
Thank you. We have Officer Casey here and members of his family. If they can step forward.
You ever read, police sergeant, and then you ever read...
All right, who's going to hold the Bible? All right, officer, place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Craig Casey,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I state your name,
And I, Craig Casey,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all of the duties
of the rank of sergeant
of the rank of sergeant
in the River Edge Police
in
Department
the River Edge Police
to
Department
the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Congratulations.
Sergeant, stand over here. Thank you. Chief?
Nice job. Nice job.
Say anything? No? Okay.
Like, no word.
Peter, I was afraid you're gonna taste the big chair. Then you'd be
I've been there so many times.
circulating petitions. You'd be circulating petitions.
Congratulations.
I've been there so many times, not like it was a new vote. I was just looking.
Lucky
Then
for
we took your photo op. Once you got a check, but
couldn't
they
you
thought
get his
maybe you'd be
laptop?
circulating petitions in the next week. Should've got a flat tire.
Got to change the party form.
I'm gonna go off to the judge. I'm gonna go off to the judge. We have a primary on our hands here. I'm gonna go off all over a photo op.
Change the party form.
Stranger things have happened.
Oh, sure. Is that Mans? Yeah, it's Mans. Manzelli, Joe Manzelli. My good friend, Joe Manzelli.
How are you doing?
How are you?
Yeah.
Nice to see you. How are you?
We got from that way the seniors.
All right, we have one more. All right, I'd like to move to the end of the appointments and personnel changes, which is the reappointment of Thomas Smith, Emergency Management Coordinator, for a 3-year term from April 1, 2015, April 1, 2018. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tom?
He's outside, hands clapping.
I want to get this.
Oh, he's right here.
Oh, there he is.
He's right here.
There you go. We just reappointed you. So, we're going to swear you in. All right. Put your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Thomas Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support
I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I state your name.
I, Tom Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all of the duties
of the office of Emergency Management Coordinator
of the Office of Emergency Management
to
Coordinator
the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Neither one of the foremen in here?
For DPW?
I didn't see Jason or Richard. I know it's Steve, I don't know Jason for science. Good job.
DPW.
I asked that one.
See one, Rick is in there.
Is Mr. Stephen or James Melito here? No, okay. The first two appointments and personnel changes, we'll go over them now. To approve the promotion of Richard Stephen, General Repair Number 1, to Road 4-Person, Step 2 in the Department of Public Works, with an annual salary of between $75,318 and $76,524, effective April 1, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstained? Any no? Next is to approve the promotion of Jason Melito, Equipment Operator, to Road 4-Person, Step 1 in the Department of Public Works, from an annual salary of $63,492 to $73,481, effective April 1, 2015.
I just had a question before.
We'll do that when we have discussion.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is
Second.
there a second? Discussion?
Just the amount of the difference between the steps, it was 9989, would that be correct?
Yes, because one is coming from a different classification than the other. The general repair on the classification scale is a higher ranked position.
Okay. Right, that was my question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Next is to approve a salary increase for Robert Don Diego, crossing guard, from a step 2 to a step 3, effective March 17, 2015.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To approve a salary increase to John Velton, crossing guard, from a step 2 rate to a step 3 rate, effective March 17, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Next, to approve an increase to Patrick McShane, crossing guard, from an hourly step 2 rate to an hourly step 3 rate, effective March 16, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And there finally is to approve an increase for Michael Goldberg, crossing guard, from an hourly step 1 rate to an hourly step 2 rate, effective March 16.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. In addition to those personnel and appointments, we have correspondence that's listed on the agenda, various letters and ordinances that we have received that are on file with the municipal clerk's office, if any member of the public wishes to review them as public records. In addition, we have monthly reports from the planning board for July to December, January 2015, from the zoning board, the annual report from June to December, the zoning board report of February 2015, the tax collector reports for the 2014 annual receipt of taxes, the tax collector report for January of this year, the library board report for the February cash flow, and our property maintenance report for January to March 2015. This evening we have our monthly liaison reports, beginning with Councilwoman Murphy, who is liaison to the Shade Tree Commission, the Library, Environmental Protection Commission, Green Team Technology, and the Milford Oradell Shared Services. Councilwoman Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have very short reports tonight because the meetings are this week. First, the environmental protection. There is a date change for the river cleanup, which now will be Saturday, October 3rd. And we are hoping to partner with the New Milford Environmental Commission to work together on that project. Maybe Alan can help out on the library. Dara had emailed Mr. Puliche a few weeks ago regarding the roof project and had not heard back. I asked him to follow up again and no word, so we have no information about when this is going to get underway. This was at least 3 weeks ago that this happened. Have you heard anything, Alan?
No, I haven't. I'll follow up on it.
And that would be all for tonight. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Capola is not with us this evening, bringing us to Councilwoman Bastide, liaison to SCORE, the Historic Commission, Traffic and Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could just ask the Borough Clerk to add Board of Health for the next month's committee reports. The Traffic and Safety Committee met recently. We had a very, very active discussion. There are several things under new business when we go back into the work session that I will be bringing up on their behalf. One item that they are looking at bringing to the community is a pedestrian safety workshop, so I look forward to continuing to hear their thoughts on that. Board of Health is meeting at the end of the month, and the Historic Commission continues to work with the planner, and I believe the Borough Attorney, on getting the master plan element completed and properly adopted. Thank you.
That's it?
Well, I'll let you report on the speed limit if you'd like.
No, go ahead. You were at the meeting.
I was. This past week, the Board of Freeholders approved an ordinance reducing the speed limit on Kinder-Camac from 35 to 30. So there's many, many years of work and stewardship by the mayor, and I was happy to work with him on that to see that be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Mignon, liaison to the DPW Zoning Subcommittee, Redevelopment, New Milford, Oradell Shared Services, and Technology. Ed?
Thank you, Mayor. Just hopefully for the last time, I'm going to congratulate and thank the DPW for another great job in clearing up after the latest storm. We all know it's been one of the worst winters the last several years, and I think, speaking for myself and probably a lot of us up here, River Edge does a fantastic job cleaning our streets, no doubt about it. We've had some bumps, obviously, with the towing issues, and we've had some other issues with some of the sidewalks, but all in all, John Lynch and his men do a fantastic job, and I can't thank them and acknowledge them enough. And hopefully, this is the last time we have to say it for this season, but I just want to let them know that they have the council's support, and the town people do appreciate their efforts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Aquafredo?
Yeah.
Liaison to the Construction Code Official, Property Maintenance Planning Subcommittee, Technology, River Edge, and Riverdale Schools.
Planning Subcommittee, there will be a planning board meeting this Thursday with applications on it for consideration. With regards to the Technology Committee, I would like to invite again Councilwoman Murphy to try to schedule a meeting with myself and Ed. A couple of things. I think we still have to consider the use of media by employees.
Right.
So I think that's important as soon as we
I
can.
contacted New Milford about, they have a great web designer that Ed and I saw.
Okay.
So they're going to provide the information of who they use for everything.
Fine. So that we keep it in front of us.
Right.
Directly or indirectly, we all received an invitation to attend a meeting hosted by the River Edge Board of Education this coming Wednesday at the Roseville?
Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill School. Thank you. And at the meeting, the notice stated that they will be discussing changes to the classroom grades location in the upcoming year. I don't know who from this council or mayor will attend the meeting, but for those who attend the meeting, while we always retain the right to express our own opinion, I want to make sure that it's clearly stated that we're expressing our own opinion and not the one of mayor and or council. So we're all individual, and we all avail ourselves of freedom of expression rights, but let's make sure we state that whatever we say, if we say anything, does not reflect the opinion of other members of this council or mayor. With regards to the Riverdale School, I had a conversation with Superintendent Fletcher, who assured me that the interlocal agreement for the monitoring and then eventual broadcasting of mayor and council meetings is just about done. Mr. Bonfiglio was crossing the I's and dotting the T. He would then have to run it by the Board of Education and send it over to us for our consideration.
This would be reviewed by the Technology Committee?
Well, he's sending it to me, so I kind of lucky enough to be on both on the Technology Committee and Riverdale, which is what prompted me to promote this initiative. So maybe this mayor and council can also join the 21st century as far as broadcasting meetings. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Papaleo, liaison to the Police Department, the Fire and Fire Prevention, River Edge Alliance Against Alcohol and Drugs.
Thank you, Mayor. The River Edge Fire Department had 68 calls year-to-date. March 6th, they assisted New Milford Fire Department at a house fire. March 11th, they assisted the New Jersey Transit Police in extinguishing a utility pole behind 862 Park Avenue. It was alongside the track, disrupting Pascack Valley train line service. They assisted the Oradell Fire Department with a vehicle extraction and entrapment on March 13th. Also, they're looking for new members, and they hope that we might get more volunteers for the fire department. Mayor and council, I go down to one of the two fire departments every Sunday, and this past Sunday I went down, and the fire department was called out as I was driving in, and they went down to, they went over to the Reformed Church, I believe it is, over by the... Grace Lutheran, I apologize. Grace Lutheran Church over by the middle school, by the high school, yeah. And while there, it happened to be a minor issue. It was a soup pot, I believe, that overspilled, created smoke, and they came in. But one of the things I'd like to compliment is the hand-in-glove relationship between our firefighter volunteers and our police department. It's gratifying to see that in River Edge, not only do our fire department and our police department complement each other, but they really work very hard to work together, and I think that should be something that should be noted. The police department, I think the chief has pretty much made a report about what I would have talked about, so I don't think I need to go into great detail, other than when I spoke to, and I speak to the chief of police on a very regular basis, every other week or more often, and he does inform me of anything that might be occurring in town. And we did speak about the recent arrest that occurred with intercooperation between many different forms of law enforcement. But he mentioned Officer Schuldis in particular in coordinating and working with the other police departments that brought about the arrest that happened recently. As for the River Edge Alliance Against Drug and Alcohol Abuse, they have been very busy funding many worthwhile programs in town. Had a 6-week yoga session for the community that was well attended. The library was extremely helpful in advertising and signing up residents. A big thanks to Jennifer Keelman from the River Edge Library. We also, River Edge, through the Alliance, also funded a very successful fair at the high school in Tidale to have a heart, that where students were, taught about heart prevention, heart health, and the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse on heart health. DARE has done a wonderful fundraiser with the support of the River Edge Police Department, and I want to thank Sergeant Staros now for coordinating that at our Habit Burger place. And their major fundraiser is the River Edge Walk, which is scheduled for April 18th. It's the walk run, but the walk funds the Alliance, partially funds Alliance and the state funds. And we hope that all residents can attend Saturday, April 18th for the walk or the run. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I have a short report just to touch on a couple of things. I assisted the Historic Newbridge Landing Park Commission towards the eventual dismantling of the substation. There was an issue regarding the movement of the old equipment off of the PSE&G substation, and I had to mediate between the county engineer's office about transportation of some of the equipment that was very large, and there were meetings regarding the direction that the trucks were going to take, that we're going to have this equipment on flatbeds. We got that all accomplished with no delay in the eventual dismantling of that substation that we won't need anymore, that was prone to flooding for so many years. In addition, just to touch on what Ellen brought up, the Freeholder Board finally granting the borough's request to lower the speed limit slightly on Kinderkamak Road from 35 to 30. We were pushing for 25, but we didn't get it. But we did get a reduction from 35 to 30. It came at a good time because we were just awarded, it came in this week's correspondence, a $315,000 grant from a federal DOT program called Safe Streets to Schools, which will add some sidewalk and some crosswalks and some pedestrian improvements to areas around Cherry Hill and Roosevelt School. We had a preliminary meeting this morning that was attended by Alan and Mr. Costa, our engineer, and Capital Alternatives, about the requirements of complying with federal regulations and the record keeping for
the $315,000 grant. We also received an $800,000 grant for streetscape improvements to Kinderkamak Road around the River Edge train station on River Edge Avenue, and that $800,000 will go far towards what we call phase 3 of the project, to hopefully join all the sections of Kinderkamak Road with the new streetscapes and lighting. One of the requirements is to have a committee to decide on the scope of work. So because it involves pedestrian improvements and streetscape, and we already have a traffic and safety committee, I suggested that we appoint the traffic and safety committee to act as the scope of work committee to decide how this money should be spent. If we want to concentrate on a particular area of Kinderkamak Road or a particular street improvement, we invited to the meeting Pat Salvati, the business administrator from the River Edge Board of Education, so we could get her input regarding the street improvements and where the Board of Ed thinks that the money is better spent in one place than another place. So we're going to go forward on that. We're going to bring in I'll announce it at the next Traffic and Safety Committee meeting. We'll look at the diagram, we'll get input from the Board of Education, and then through that process with the Traffic and Safety and the Board of Ed, we can come up with bid specifications so that we can go out to bid. In addition, we are working towards the $150,000 grant that we have received in this discretionary aid for sidewalk improvements on Midland Avenue, where there aren't any sidewalks by the middle school, and Mr. Costa is just about done with the design, and we hope to go out to bid soon on that, so that we can start that project when the weather gets warmer. If we show the DOT that we are making progress in this $150,000 discretionary grant, then that will increase our score if we apply for more discretionary aid money. I would like to invite back Capital Alternatives at a future council meeting in the near future for them to give the council their ideas on further grant opportunities. There's one that they mentioned to me at the foot of Kenny Avenue, where it winds around into the KGB and the swim club area where the railroad tracks are, to make improvements down there. The spot down there has already been brought to our attention by the DPW due to the condition of the guardrail, and in this year's budget we allocated, I think, $37,000 towards the replacement of that, which, if that becomes a future grant application, maybe we wouldn't have to spend it. So I'd like to invite them back to hear their ideas. That's my report for everything that I have to report on. This evening we have ordinances that are on for, we have no ordinances that are on for first reading. We have ordinances that are on for public hearing, beginning with ordinance number 1817, which is an ordinance to amend zoning chapter 416-36.1, multifamily and senior citizen housing, conditional use district. It concerns blocks 105, lots 6.01 through 12, and block 1302, lot 1, 2, and 3. This is the area on the eastbound side of Kinderkamak Road below Reservoir Avenue. We have Mr. Barrett present, and we have applicant's client, Mr. Crooks, I believe. But let's begin by opening the hearing to the public. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this is, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just Mayor, from the introduction of the ordinance to the ordinance that's being proposed, there were some minor revisions. So just so you know, those revisions came out of the planning board, some recommendations from Mr. Barrett, some recommendations from the planning board. They are de minimis. They are minor revisions, which does not require you to reintroduce the ordinance in its entirety as a first reading. They're minor revisions that can be adopted that don't change the actual ordinance. So you can adopt it with the revisions on the second reading.
Okay.
And I highlighted all those revisions to you guys. Or any questions, let me know.
All right, we're open to the public on this ordinance. Mr. Barrett, would you like to?
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll let you go first, and then we'll hear from the public,
Indeed.
and we'll discuss it with council.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this evening and for considering this ordinance. We have been working for the past year and a half or so with the borough's professionals, the planner, the former planning board attorney, in order to make the revisions that appear before you this evening. And the reasons that those arose, I know that at the time of the first reading back in earlier in January, or we had a discussion in December. I'm not certain exactly when it was. But the question was, you know, what changes occurred that required changes in the ordinance? Well, there were a few things. Number one is the economic conditions have not improved, and the proposal that had previously been approved by the planning board turned out to be not feasible to build. The site is a very difficult site, as you can all imagine, due to the steep slope, and the cost of preparing the site for any kind of development is astronomical. So my client went back and met with his professionals to come up with a better plan, a plan that would accommodate a request from the borough to provide for 10% of the units to be affordable for low and moderate income folks and senior citizens. And in order to do that, though, we had to request an increase in the permitted density. The plan that has been developed, in which, if the ordinance is passed, will be the subject of planning board application, only calls for one building. The previous approved plan was 3 buildings. It affords the opportunity to move the bulk of the building away from the Elizabeth Street residence. It affords the opportunity to eliminate any improvements to the easement that currently exists along the two of the property owners on Elizabeth Street, and instead the property will be developed in such a way that access will be provided to the DPW, which has always been a consideration of the borough engineer, of the planning board, going back 10 years. They need to access the sewer line in the event of any kind of emergency, or if there's a blockage. They really have no way to access that at the current time with their rather large machine. I forget what it's called. But it's
Sewer jet.
Sewer jet. Okay. The sewer jet machine, which weighs many tons. And the development of the site will enable them to access it through the site, through the driveways that are going to be provided. There will be improvements that will allow them to not only access it, but to easily maneuver on the site to service the sewer line down there. The improvements include the opportunity for the fire department to access the entire building, which before would have been difficult, again, in for all sides of the building, except for the east side closest to the track. That'll be an opportunity that's now available. Also, the new plan would minimize the number of units that are closest to the tracks. Before, we had an entire building that ran north-south, closest to the tracks. That would not have been, say, the most desirable units because of the location by the tracks. With the proposed new design, it's a T-shaped building, the T going towards the tracks. The number of units has been minimized that will be closest to the tracks. Also, this design allows for the proposed retaining walls to be minimized down to 2, and they'll only be about 6 feet high. Before, they were much taller, perhaps more objectionable to the neighbors. We feel these would be more suited for that particular area. The new competition has developed. The Avalon over by Riverside Square. The prior project did not include elevators, did not include community room, didn't include storage or handicap ramps. All of that can be accommodated with the new ordinance. So it'll be more upscale. The increase in density will not lead to any increase in the number of school-age children. Now that occurs because there is going to be a reduction in the number of 2-bedroom units down to 36, the addition of 26 one-bedroom units, and then 6 studios. The numbers actually work out, not even considering the senior citizen section, but if you didn't even have those, the numbers would still be the same. The high is an estimate of 11 school-age children from the development of 68 units and then a unit for the superintendent. With the senior citizens, it's going to be slightly lower. I don't have the exact figure, but suffice it to say that even without the senior citizens, it is the exact same number as would have been estimated based on 46 2-bedroom units. The new plan, again, is affording the opportunity to eliminate what was a major concern to some of the residents, which was the storage of refuse. It's all going to be indoors at this the new proposal, so there'll be nothing outside. We have a feeling that this particular location, which is 3/10 of a mile from the train station, is primarily going to attract young people who are going to be commuting, and we feel that the young people demand certain amenities, and we're going to be able to provide them in this new project. Also, over the course of the year, there were some changes that the borough's professionals asked for. They wanted, in particular, to ensure a properly sloping roof, consistent sidewalk streetscape, and an appropriate amount of parking spaces as well. We tried to accomplish that, notwithstanding the fact that they requested that we eliminate parking in the front yard. So that was one of the changes we requested, was a reduction in the number of required parking spaces in the ordinance.
Sure. A follow-up question came in our last meeting. Because of the work done by everybody in council and the planning board, the increased density, the question was asked about when can you put the shovel in the ground, and a very appropriate question. So I did tell you I was going to follow up on that with some JV partners. Because of the style of the building and the increased density.
Mr. Crooks, if you could use the easel over there so that members of the public can see what you're referring to.
Thanks. Because of the increased density and the type of building that's going to be involved here, we were able to get interest with some of the top developers in New Jersey. So we have entered into a tentative JV agreement with one of the top in the state, who would take this on upon the approval of the ordinance. They do everything from developing, handling the site plans, construction, and then property management thereafter. It's a full shop. They've built over 10,000 units in New Jersey, and they own them all. They haven't sold, they don't flip them, nothing like that. They keep them and hold them forever. So we're excited about the progress we've made on that end. And the goal is that to be able to put the roof on by the next snowstorm, because then you want to use the winter to do the interiors. So we will be looking to get onto the site plan review committee's calendar right away. Because the site plan has already been approved on this particular lot, we're hoping that will expedite things with the county and the state. We've already kind of plowed that road, so to say. So, barring everything goes well, that would be the intention.
All right. Questions?
Just had a couple of questions. Have you been in contact with the fire department to make sure that the trucks and everything has, proper...
That typically occurs during the site plan review. It's one of the requirements of the planning board is that everything be submitted to the fire department, to the police department, and the other committees within the traffic and safety, environmental. So they all get to comment upon it at the planning board level, at the site plan approval level.
But we did factor that attorney radius and everything
Yes.
into the site plan, so you know.
Now, here in one of the last paragraphs, it says, "Any development pursuant to this ordinance shall provide a presumptive 10% set aside." Are affordable and senior citizen interchangeable in this? Is it the same thing, or?
There would be affordable senior.
So you're going to make that determination, it could be an affordable and it could be a senior, or that could be one?
Same units.
No, because there's a mandated 10% for seniors, and then the last section of the ordinance, I believe, says that
Is it 10% senior and 10% affordable?
Same 10.
It's the same 10.
Will be the affordables will be 55 and up.
The last sentence reads that these units shall be used to satisfy the set-aside requirement of C1 of the ordinance. C1 is the 10% seniors.
Okay, so it is seniors.
Right, it's affordable seniors.
And you had mentioned that the maximum amount of kids could be 11, but then you first said that there will be no kids when you were making your statement?
No.
No
I said
increase in that.
there will be no children in the senior section.
Right.
But the number is the same even without the seniors. The number is the same as would have been projected for 46 two-bedroom units.
So you could have some of these seniors in the two-bedroom units, right? How are you going to determine which units go to which? Which go to the seniors, which go to the affordable? Is there a way that you're going to determine? Because you could have the seniors and the affordable take, all the two bedrooms and,
Well,
right?
the school impact study we did was versus the last one, which had a projected of 8, and then the council asked us to increase it to the high end and then add 15%, and that's where you get to 11. So the site plan was developed so that the impact would be the same if it was these 68 units or the 46 two-bedroom units. So that's supposed to keep the school impact equivalent to the previous site plan. As far as the allocation to the units, we must have 10% of them be affordable and age restricted. So that would be the minimum amount of units would go to the age 55 and up.
So that could be any combination of the bedrooms here to make up the 10%?
Yes. The ordinance does not clarify which units would be...
Just 10%?
10%.
So that could just be the two bedrooms, it could be the studios,
Yes.
right? Whatever accounts for the 10%.
Yes.
And did you, just since it's been current, the Edgewater fire, do you have any plans to build with more fire retardant material, or just the basic?
The standards have been increased since that building had been built. So it's been improved above that. And this is going to be, it's the multi-elevator building, so this is not going to be... yes, I think the fire department will find this builder to be somebody who built 10,000 to meet their standards.
Can you say who the developer is?
No.
That's it, thank you.
It will become public once things move on. Everything's contingent on this, so once that's executed, then I'll let everybody know.
Thank you. Just two questions. You said now that this is going to be a higher-end building, it's going to have elevators and more amenities. How did that affect the price point for the rents compared to what you had told us previously?
Told us previously.
When you first came in, there was a certain price point for either a unit, if it was going to be a purchase, or then you had a certain level of rents that you thought was going to be there because of...
Avalon kind of was a very good comparable in trying to decide what was the right project for this area. So Avalon, which went for a similar kind of building, we tried to develop a similar kind of building to what Avalon has. So the same kind of amenities and kind of bedroom types and finishes and so forth. So we took it off of their recent success and emulate that price. So that's where we were able to kind of justify that.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is the increase in the level of the quality of the building going to price out seniors if they're going to have to rent here? Are the rents going to be that much more increased compared to what they would have been under the original plan?
That Avalon sold out like that, and being that the vacancy rate in Bergen County...
But I'm not privy to what their senior rate is or how many seniors are in that building. I'm not worried about full occupancy. I'm talking about specifically about seniors. If you're trying to build this towards having a senior component, is it going to be...
Well, that'll be regulated by whatever the affordable limits are in terms of the rent.
For that.
So are you referring to market rent or those particular...
I guess I'm asking for both, but because they don't necessarily have to be seniors. The seniors don't necessarily have to be affordable. You still may want seniors from town who want to move in there who may not qualify for affordable. So I guess I'm asking both ends of the question.
You're going to want... I mean, the first thing you want to do is have the thing rent stabilized, right? So you want to rent it out.
Yes.
So the goal will be to, hopefully, before it's finished, have the majority of it rented out. So, the market will dictate those rents so that occurs. You're not going to price everybody out of it and then have a 50% rented property.
One more question. And I did mention to Mr. Sarlo, I do have a concern with stipulating the 1.5 parking space per unit. This project, as Mr. Barrett's aware, I'm sure you're aware, this is governed by the residential site improvement standards, and I think that our ordinance should be written to reflect what the state code is. Our code is not more restrictive, so I think we have to go with the basics for what the RSIs would require for parking based on your 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom in the studio. And I think you can make the case to the planning board whether de minimis exception is warranted to come in with a lower number of parking spaces. I don't think that we should be writing into our ordinance a standard which is much lower than we would normally require on a residential development, and particularly one which this ordinance may be applicable to other parcels in town, and I don't think we should be, I said, stipulating a parking requirement which I think can be construed as maybe slightly deficient on parking, depending on the mix of apartments and potential demographics of who are living there.
It's a very fair point. The only objective of what change we made is when we presented a site plan that did provide the SI number of 132, the planning board had then determined told us there shouldn't be any parking in the front of the building. So, being that we wanted to stay with all surface and minimize the use of large retaining walls and parking structures and so forth, we thought the easiest thing we would do is to kind of lower the parking number of spots required so we could adhere to their request of removing the spaces in front and then not get into a large kind of way to accommodate the other spaces. So that's why we took a shot. We tried to accommodate the planning board in doing that.
I don't disagree, but I was saying I think that's the way it should be. The planning board has the discretion. I don't think the mayor and council should be setting that in ordinance, and particularly at a lower number. I think it should be, what the state standard is, and then let the planning board decide what's an appropriate reduction, if anything.
Respect that. I just wanted to point out what...
Okay, no, I understand I was part of the original site plan approval, and I was on the board at that time, so...
Thank you.
That brings up a point I'll ask Mr. Sarlo, if in that section 4A, 1.5 off-street parking, and then it already has a language about the planning board shall approve the proposed, if that 1.5 off-street parking requirement were eliminated from the ordinance and we left it to the site plan review process at the planning board, would that significantly change the ordinance? Was that
No, I don't.
just a de
No, I don't
minimis?
believe so. I think it's again a de minimis. You're giving more discretion. You're talking the number of. I think I not figured this out. The number of units from 1.5 to RSIS wasn't that many. We were that off. So it would be a de minimis. It would be a de minimis change. You can vote on this application tonight with that change. I'd incorporate that change.
Well, because Ed
and then
has
publish
a
it.
good point that why, if we put this in an ordinance that could be used as an argument for another development at another location or something like that, it's better to leave this to the planning board.
In Mayor, it's actually not even that the RSIS is actually in the ordinance that you introduced at the first reading. So we don't have to get into whether we're changing it, whether it's a de minimis requirement. You're just not changing it at this point. It stays where it is.
Right.
So
You revert back.
it stays back. So
Yeah.
it actually is.
And we
It's
would-
better.
And we wouldn't want to create a...
I don't have to make a ruling that it's a de minimis change.
If that was Ed's major issue and he wants to make a motion to amend it, maybe he would. I don't.
Are we at that point now, or we can wait until we...
No, I mean,
Questions?
we're still in open,
Discussion.
we're still in open session, still having the public hearing on it. Vito?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Barrett,
Yes, sir.
what or who is the source of stating that this project will not contribute more than 11 students to the River Edge school system and Riverdale? This is K to 12.
Correct. Yeah, it's the total projected number of students is 11, and it's the source is the testimony that was given several years ago by Dr.
Mr. Liskin?
Liskin. And then the use of his formula by the firm of Corker and Corker from Wyckoff. So they took his formula and then applied it to these units. We don't have the figure with the 10% set aside, but we do have the figure as if there were no set aside for seniors.
So out of 46 two-bedroom units?
46 two-bedroom would have yielded 11.
46 was 7.5, and then...
Well, the range.
That was this prediction was 7.5, and then they asked us to do a range.
Right,
Which
best
took it
case
up to
worst
9.7, and then the council said, well, tack on another 15% increase to that, so you have...
11.16.
So you're up above the band.
K to 12.
K to 12.
K to 12. And with the mix of 36 two-bedroom, 26 one-bedroom, and 6 studio, it's the same number, 11.16.
Fine. Here's the problem I have. None of those gentlemen lives in River Edge. None of those gentlemen have any idea of how great our school system is. None of those gentlemen understand that people, unlike some of our surrounding townships, people move to River Edge so their kids could go to school in River Edge. So, as an architect, I always design for the worst condition. And in this case, the worst condition is that this development could bring as many as 46 students to our school system. There lies the problem I'm having with this, where we have to rely on a formula based on some nondescript criteria or matrices that really have very little to do with River Edge. Talking about the two bedrooms. So just as you say this project will not bring more than 11 students to the K to 12 school system, I can easily say that this project could bring as many as 46 students to the school system.
Well, all I can say in response to that is that when the initial discussion concerning the ordinance took place in 2011 or 12, there was data submitted to the mayor and council taking into account all of the condominium units in town. There were 90 units, which generated 30 students. All of those condominiums or mostly are actually townhouses, and are 3-bedroom units. So here we have 2, 1, and studios. So we wouldn't even be near that 0.3 that currently exists among the existing townhouses in town. And that number was a constant because the same number was obtained back in 2000 or 2002 when I made the same request to the local board as well as to the regional board for the number of students who lived in certain addresses. And that was the townhouses across the street, the townhouses on River Edge Road, the townhouses on Kinderknack just to the south of Bogarts. I think those are all the units that I could think of.
So even if this project follows suits with those, which is a big assumption, I mean, I'm not even getting into how many school children have come to River Edge that are necessitating drastic moves by the River Edge school, and eventually they will end up at the high school level. I mean, I still want to take the other side and say one of the contributions of this project could be a large amount of influx into our schools. Was there to prevent people from having one child in the 2 bedrooms, which are legally approved for that occupancy, and then the children, wow, what a great conditions here. Near the train station, great community, even better schools, which is what has held our values up at a great cost to us. Who's going to move from River Edge? No one. So it's just that there is another way of looking at it than a scant report by some PhD is a doctor from Rutgers or wherever he came from.
He gathered all the information to come up with that. It's not mere speculation. It is real data.
Yes, but it's also a reality that this is River Edge, and it's also a reality that I will take the opposite end and say that this project will bring 46 students into our system.
May I answer?
Please.
You absolutely can take that stance. All we could do was go to professors from Rutgers that the governor and the president use for this exact kind of analysis. He did give a national study, he did give a state of New Jersey study using actual data for the entire state of New Jersey. Then he broke it down to Bergen County, and then he actually did an analysis of River Edge's school impact based on your current buildings. So, and he took that into a formula and came up with his metrics, and then we took that and we increased it by X% to go to as far as you could out in the statistical band. So we tried to create this, strong as a mathematical and historical data that we could to present to you for your insights.
So we're going to bring this to a conclusion. You have your opinion, I have mine. I haven't heard you say anything that you're going to give to this community and specifically to the school system other than you're going to add 11 bodies. That's it. We'll leave it at that. When we see each other at the planning board, we'll continue the conversation.
We also did an analysis that the revenue from the project creates multiples than the dollar impact to the school. Many multiples. So it covers it by a much larger multiple than your single-family homes do.
Do you know how much it costs to educate a child at the grammar school level in River Edge?
About 14,000.
It's higher.
No, it's
a little
not.
high.
That's the
It's a little
cost.
higher.
No, it's 14,000.
Do you know how much it costs for a child to be educated at a high school, middle school and high school?
16.
About 18. And that's because we're subsidized by Oradell. So you do the math. You start telling me how you're going to...
He's kidding.
Wow. That's crazy.
We'll see the plan.
Yeah, I do.
Crazy.
I do.
Then Ellen.
So one of the questions I would like if you could address is void spaces and whether they would be sprinkled. A sprinkler system, an automatic sprinkler system for fire hazards, especially after the Edgewater disaster. Would the spaces between floors, would the truss area, would the void space in the attics, would they be, is your intention to put an automatic sprinkler system to maintain the highest level of safety?
100%, yes, sir.
And for other areas that may not have mentioned, it's still your intention to any void space?
Yes. We want this thing to be around for 100 plus years. I mean, we don't want this is a project to be held forever. It's not to be built and then flipped and hope it works out for somebody else.
Great.
Thank you. The JV partner owns every apartment he's ever built.
And you say JV is in?
Joint venture.
Joint venture. Thank you.
Ellen.
Thank you. When you mentioned the addresses that you requested demographic information from, did I miss it? Did you ask for the apartments or just the townhouses?
Just townhouse.
And why was that?
At the time, it was when the contemplation was that it was going to be for sale units, and they were the closest comparable to the proposed development.
Because you talk a lot about two-bedroom, one-bedroom studios, and to echo what Councilman Aquafreda says, River Edge is unique in that people do come here to go to our schools, and I don't think it's that important how many bedrooms they have for how many children that necessarily occupy those units. So I think leaving out that data is a mistake.
Part of the criteria also is that the more expensive the unit, the fewer the children there are. And again, the data shows the 11 students, and that is based upon the high end, which is what this would be. And they have confidence in the numbers that they came up with. I don't think that it's reasonable to assume that they're going to be 4 times as many as they projected.
I'm not sure you can make that
statement.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you for your answer.
The second time around, Ed.
One question. There's one other consideration that we're looking at. This lot is zoned residential to begin with. It's 80,000 square feet, and it's already had been previously approved as a 10-lot subdivision. So you have to put that also as a consideration, that if you have 10 single-family houses there, 9 or 8 at minimum, you're still going to have potential for at least 20 or 30 school-age children coming out of that. Plus, we would have another street that the borough would have to accept and dedicate and be responsible for maintaining the street lighting and all the other things too. So I'm not disagreeing. I do think we do have to look at issues with density, but in this particular case, you have a lot that is subdividable. It was approved for subdivision. So you do have to take that into consideration when you're looking at potential on the school-age children. So I just think that's another issue we have to consider when you're looking at this particular lot. It doesn't necessarily apply to other potential projects in town, but here it's zone residential and it's a very large lot.
Good point.
Members of the public. Yes.
Greg Caridi, 193 Wayne Avenue. I'm also a fire chief in town. Just 2 quick comments regarding the school-age children. We beat that to death, but having born and raised in this town, I would ask their experts to go stand at Howland and Boulder Road at 3 o'clock and watch the school-age kids walking southbound into the apartments. So, as an emergency first responder, I've been in the apartments, I see how many kids can pack into the apartments. I don't care if it's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, they're gonna do it. We have a good school system. The other thing is, the 1.5 parking spaces per unit, a lot of the young families on my block, on Wayne Avenue, they have 2 cars. So we heard the police chief talk about how the traffic in the south end of town, with the snow plowing, going to south end of our town, Reservoir Avenue, the Marginal Road, Oxford Terrace, Bogart Road, it's packed, it's packed. So if you have a young family moving in with 2 cars, well, 1.5, unless they get a saw and cut 1.5, where's that other car going? Reservoir Avenue, Oxford Terrace, it's packed already. Go down there now, and there's not one spot to be had. Thank you.
Mr. Chillian.
Yeah, hello, Julian. I just want to make a couple of comments. Basically, I know the gentleman was quoting how he's using the condos or the townhouses as a benchmark for 11 kids. And you know, the townhouses pay a lot more taxes than your rentals would. So they're actually paying for themselves a lot more than a rental apartment would. And second, it would be a disaster for the rest of the residents of this town to have more rental apartments which don't carry the weight, they don't produce the taxable revenue the town needs to offset any cost. You know, whatever you quote as a statistic, a PhD, whoever it was, I think members of the council have stated, it doesn't apply to the town. They're using a very generic formula. It could apply anywhere in the world, even on the moon. But this is River Edge. Conditions are different, and they weren't considered in that statistic. So you should use more relevant statistics.
Thank you. Someone else had their hand up? Yes, ma'am.
Hi there. So, in addition to the 46...
Ma'am, just your name and address.
Oh, sorry,
That's
Deborah
okay.
Getz, 100 Elizabeth
Thank
Street. Know several of you already. In addition to the 46 possible children that can come into our schools, that leaves, if we have a 2-parent family, possibly 96 or 92 additional commuters coming into the bus stops from that particular location to Feathers, which is like the last bus stop in River Edge. Has there been any contact with New Jersey Transit on what can be done to accommodate additional commuters?
No, not at this point.
Will there be any consideration for that?
I don't know that that's the developer's role. I mean, certainly we can bring it to their attention.
Well, it's a consideration when you're building a property that has how many units in a residential area, and it impacts the people that actually live there, so it should actually matter.
Well, again, we could certainly bring it to their attention. I don't know how much influence we have on them as to whether they're going to increase the number of buses. We don't know how many people are going to actually use the train versus, you know, because it's within walking distance of the train. So again, and same thing, the bus stop, they walk across the street, there's a bus stop, you know, on the westbound side of Kingston.
I take public transportation, so in the event that something happens, like when there was a fire recently in Pascagoula Valley when I went down, everybody on that line went to the bus stops.
Right.
Not enough buses. New Jersey Transit doesn't do anything to add buses on this particular route. But if we're going to add possibly 96 additional commuters, that is something that should perhaps be thought about.
And
Did,
bring it to their attention, right.
So you take the one by Feathers? That's your
and
stop?
I take the train too.
So when Avalon Bay was built, did you see an increase in bus ridership?
Yeah.
Because they have, how many units, 300 over there?
Absolutely.
So do you know if anybody went and talked from Avalon Bay, talked to New Jersey Transit for the uptick?
I'm not aware of. But I know that when I stand on the bus at 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, I have to stand on the bus. But I just wanted to bring it to somebody's attention that it is a concern of people that live on that street. A lot of us are commuting into Manhattan, so it is an issue. I also wanted to know what assurances we have with this new building format as far as the flooding, the sewage, the drainage, because there were issues that were worked out with the other building layout,
Right.
and now that's changing.
Well, again, all of that will be examined at the planning board level,
Okay.
the site plan approval, and I'm sure that Mr. Costa will use his best efforts, as he did on the prior project, to ensure that all of the water is contained on the site or, you know, is disposed of properly, you know, through the appropriate drains, et cetera, and that there's no flooding that would affect any of the neighbors.
And then as far as the outdoor amenities, what exactly does that mean? In the ordinance, is there something about outdoor amenities? Indoor and outdoor amenities, so what is the outdoor part? Is there going to be a pool? Are there going to be tennis courts or
No, I don't-
balconies on the buildings?
I don't know what they meant in the ordinance about outdoor amenities.
I think that was in the prior ordinance as well. It's talking more about the open space and what that can be used for. So I think that's just a repeat of what was in the prior ordinance. As proposed, this project does not have any active outdoor amenities, so it has no pool, has no tennis courts.
As far as the parking structure, now 1.5 spots for, say, a family that has 2 cars, is there going to be a parking garage that's going to be built there?
Well, it looks like we're going to go greater than that and back to RSI's standards, and it will be all surface parking.
Okay. Will there be consideration given to cars idling and the parking spots maybe butted up against people's residences?
I'm not following.
So a car, I'm waiting for my husband to come out and I turn the car on and my car is facing the property 6 feet away from the now parking space.
Well, we have every intention of putting a fence along the north and south border property line, in front of, along the whole side, of both sides. Because we don't want to create a hassle, and also we'll make sure that the views of the neighbors have been obscured by landscaping as we did in the previous site.
Okay, so you're part of that original?
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, we want to be good partners with everybody involved.
Okay. And then again, going back to fire safety, obviously everyone knows Avalon burned down. You're saying that from shovel ready to getting a roof on is next to December with sprinkler systems throughout the entire structure?
Yes, nobody wants to let, yes, we'll be using a higher standard of fire safety than the Edgewater situation. And the fire department will be consulted as it was in the previous site.
Okay. And is the planning board meeting already scheduled?
No, the action that council takes this evening will not approve this project.
Okay.
It will only, if it passes, allow the developer to submit the project to planning board.
Okay.
And then there's an engineering report, a planning board report, a public notice within 200 feet, an opportunity for you to come to the planning board to speak about the buffers and the parking and the idling of the cars and all that. If the ordinance that speaks in broad terms gets approved.
Okay.
It just
All
goes
right.
back to them, back to the planning board.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mayor, this does not rescind the prior ordinance, so if this didn't pass, the other ordinance is still in existence then.
Right. Councilman Mignon makes a good point where currently there is an ordinance and a project approved for 46 two-bedroom units that have no COA requirement and have no senior citizen component. And that's 46 two-bedroom units, which you know is going to increase the school population substantially. So this, according to our ordinance, the current ordinance, would reduce the two-bedroom units from 46 to 37, add some COA, add some affordable senior housing. Yes, sir.
Hi, Joseph Dunsey, 151 Concord Drive, River New Jersey. I moved into this town 1980, or I should say I was moved into this town because I was 2 at the time, and went through the school system here all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade. I have a couple comments to make on this whole process. First of all, I'm a bit concerned that the ordinance isn't very organic. It's focusing on just a couple of lots, and I think when you're developing ordinances for planning, they should be more broad-based, so I would be more comfortable if you made an ordinance that would affect most of the town, instead of just targeting this one neighborhood. Second of all, in regards to the possibility of adding school children to the district. Now, I understand the attraction of limiting the affordable housing to senior citizens, not allowing any school-age children in those apartments because it would allow you to meet a COA requirement without actually letting low-income children into our schools. But I'm not agreeing with that mindset because my first job out of college was teaching at the Acorn School for Social Justice. I wasn't there for any ideological reasons. I had just graduated with a biology degree from George Washington University. I thought I might want to go into teaching. That summer, I saw an advertisement in the New York Times saying they needed teachers. I sent my resume and I got the job. It was a very learning experience for both me and the children. Acorn, for those of you who don't know, is basically a community organizing nonprofit that helps low-income neighborhoods get things they need. And the Acorn School for Social Justice was one of 3 charter schools in Brooklyn that they created to address the needs of education for low-income children. It was a high school. It was in its 2nd year of development. I got to see it from the ground up. About half the population was black, half was Hispanic, and they came from East New York, Bushwick, Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Mr. Dunson, let me interrupt you because we're here for a public hearing on an ordinance that's 4 pages long, and it contains certain language. And we're here to discuss the language of the ordinance. So far, you haven't discussed anything dealing remotely with this particular ordinance.
I'd like the age restriction removed.
You'd like the age restriction removed?
Right, and I'm trying to explain why.
Okay, explain why.
So, as I was saying, the students were from East New York, Bedford-Stuyvesant, and Bushwick. Now, the commute from River Edge was very long, so I decided I should move closer, and I figured, well, if I'm going to move, I should live in the same neighborhood of the kids I'm teaching. So I moved to Bushwick and lived there for the remainder of the school year. So, unlike many of the people in this room, I have no problem with low-income children being in our schools and living in my town. And I would be thrilled if you changed the ordinance so that school-age children can be in these apartments.
Did you just say, unlike all the people in this room?
I said many.
Many. So you know what many people
Kathleen,
right here?
we're having a public hearing. It's not an opportunity for you to joust with the audience. Mr. Dunse has a opposing opinion. He's allowed to voice it. Someone who we haven't heard before. Yes.
Good evening. Alphonse Bartoloni, 719 Oak Avenue. I would just say to all of you, I don't know, some of you who have children maybe got the letter, but on March 18th, there's a meeting with the Board of Ed because they're having problems fitting enrollment and where kindergartners and 4th graders are going to be positioned next year. There's an enrollment problem in River Edge. So whatever we're talking about the cost of educating the children, whether that will be borne by the taxes that the property will generate, there's the added problem of where you'll actually school these additional children. And if you get into the cost of having to build additional schools, that's going to exponentially increase the cost. So what I would just recommend to all of you is seriously take that into consideration, and when you're debating which solution, whether it's to amend the ordinance, keep the ordinance as is, keep in mind not just the cost of educating the children, but where you're actually going to educate them, because apparently it's an ever-increasing problem. And as someone who has a child who's supposed to enter kindergarten at Newbridge Landing and possibly may not be able to go to that building now because of an increase in student enrollment, I think you really have to factor that in as well. So
We did get the notice, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Mr. Chili, we've heard from you. Well, let me see if there's anyone else who wishes to be heard before we go back and do the same people twice. Mr. Crooks, you wanted to mention something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for everything that they had to say. And, one of the desires we had was by changing the composition was to have less of an effect on the schools than the current ordinance, while also increasing the tax revenues to the town. So we were trying to become, a better partner with the town by creating this, newer development. So I thank you for considering it.
All right. Yes, one person back there, let's see.
Hi, Joseph Chang, 10 Connect. I currently live on one of the lots. How will I be compensated if this project goes through?
What do you mean, you live on one of the lots? What?
I own 290 Connect, so it's one of the lots that are planned to be developed.
It's not. It's
not.
It's
part of the zone.
It's part of the zone. is what
Oh,
we're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. You live within the zone.
Yes.
This overlay zone.
Yes.
That would allow multifamily development.
Yes.
I don't understand what you mean by compensation. What that means is that you and maybe some of your adjoining neighbors could get together and possibly redevelop your property along the same lines as this property.
So my property will not be affected by this development at all?
No? All right, can I have a...
If I may, Mayor, I think that's wrong. I think it will be affected because your property values will go down. Because you will be rented around you. And the second question I really want to ask is, why you can't commit to 10% seniors? Why this fudge number, 10% divided by this or that?
Wait a minute.
Why don't you just take
Wait a
10%?
minute.
It's COA.
No, I'm sorry.
Give us your name and address again, so it's on the record.
Paolo Chivia, 689
Okay.
Fifth Avenue.
And if you have a question, then ask it.
I will, I do. And I don't understand why there's no commitment as to the number of units. You talk about 10% for seniors, which could be a number divided by other low-income houses. So let me just finish. It's a fudge number. You play around between the two numbers, 10%. We don't know if it's two bedrooms, one bedroom, or any, it's a joke. State something clearly what it is. How many units are dedicated to seniors? Period. Is it 5 units, or 3, or 1?
Well, if
you're fudging with the numbers.
If you have a 69, I think I heard 69 units?
68 plus 1 plus the superintendent.
68 with 1 plus the superintendent. 10% of that would be 7 units. That
But
would...
you don't know, it's seniors, or is it with the...
No. The ordinance is clear that the 10%
share
for senior citizens will be affordable housing, senior citizen affordable housing, which means that if a senior citizen wants to downsize from their present home in River Edge, but remain in town and not have to maintain their home and do home maintenance, they could move into a development like this, into one of the senior affordable units. That's what it says.
10%, 6.9 units, which are not exactly. If it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, or whatever it is, it's a number, okay, will be dedicated to seniors, period.
That's what it says.
I heard there was a number of shared.
No.
It could be seniors, it could be others.
What do you mean, others?
Or it could be, affordable. You're making it affordable.
No, there's two components. There's 10% of the units have to be allocated for seniors. The other 10% you're talking about is a COA requirement.
It's the same 10%?
It could be satisfied with the
It could be
senior
satisfied with that, yes.
It could be satisfied the same 10%?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
So,
10%.
why is it 10% for seniors when it's not?
It is. The ordinance says that, but you can also meet your COA requirement by using it for seniors.
That's what it says. All right, can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there any motion to amend this particular ordinance?
Mayor? Yes, I will amend the ordinance to change section, I think it's D4, regarding off-street parking, and take out the first sentence, 1.5 off-street parking spaces shall be provided for each dwelling unit, and may include garages, parking decks under residential buildings and surface parking lots, and insert something, basically that the parking requirements shall be in accordance with the residential site improvement standards.
Maybe we would keep in the original language that was in the ordinance when you introduced it.
Okay, so basically it says off-street parking shall be provided for each dwelling unit in accordance with the New Jersey residential site improvement standards.
So I'll change the ordinance that's in front of you, but it's going to revert back to what you initially introduced.
That's a motion?
Is that a second?
Second.
Let's have a roll call on the amendment first.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steve?
This is on the amendment.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Atkinson?
Yes.
Councilman Papalayo?
Yes.
All right. All right, is there a motion to approve the motion on second reading?
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All I will say is that I think that this is a improvement on what is presently on the books of 46 two-bedroom units with no affordable housing and no senior housing. It reduces the two-bedroom apartments from what can be built there at 46 to 37. It adds some required COA element. It adds some much-needed senior affordable housing in town, and it's an improvement over what's already allowed. So with that, I would call the roll.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steve?
I just want to make a brief comment before I vote. I want to acknowledge that the developer has made efforts to what they believe is reduce the impact. However, I still feel that the impact will be far greatly negative than positive, and for that reason, I'm voting no.
Councilman Mignon?
I'm going to vote yes. We already have the existing ordinance which would allow for the 46 units. I think this is an improvement over that ordinance, and also taking into consideration that this lot can be subdivided and made to many multiple single-family dwellings, so I think that mitigates potential impacts from this proposal. So I vote yes.
I'm echoing Ed's comment, and the fact that approving this ordinance, which is an improvement over the existing ordinance that would be vacated by this one, we're not in any way, shape, or form approving the project. For that reason alone, I will vote yes.
Councilman Papalayo?
For what both Councilman Mignon and Councilman Aquafreda said, not to waste more time, I vote yes.
All right. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Okay.
So basically, we throw them on the side. Yeah. That's it. Come and see me.
There'll be something.
I don't know. How many millions you're going to give to donate to the school?
Okay, next is ordinance number 1824. 1824 is an ordinance of the Borough of New Milford, amending and supplementing Chapter 1, establishing Senior Citizens of River Edge Organization. We have members of SCORE that are maybe past their bedtime that are still here. We can open to the public.
So moved.
Second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're conducting the public hearing now before the final vote on the adoption or the denial of this ordinance 1824, establishing the SCORE organization under the borough's umbrella. Would any member of the public like to be heard? Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address.
My name is June Morris. I live on Lawrence Avenue. I belong to SCORE. I noticed here at the free election of officers, members of SCORE should elect from its membership a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. All should be elected for a term. You've got 1 year.
Right.
Or actually, and then in the bylaws on section C, we have it for the officers of the executive should be elected for a term of 2 years.
We haven't adopted the bylaws yet. There were the proposed bylaws before the ordinance was even considered.
But actually, I'm on the board for Women's Club too. In our bylaws, we put 2 years, and mostly if you go over anybody's bylaws, it's usually 2 years for your officers, because it takes some time for the first year. Then the second year, it works much easier.
That's why it says 1 year, because during the first year, SCORE is going to adopt bylaws, and the bylaws that you may want to adopt may say 2 years or 3 years.
Usually, they're always 2 years.
You could have any bylaws that the SCORE chooses to adopt. To get the process moving, we're putting in for the first year that the president and the secretary and the treasurer will be appointed for 1 year. And then...
Say 2 years. I still think the 2 years.
Can you say with the option to continue?
Say yes.
Can you say that?
We can take it out.
With the option to continue for the other year?
We can take it out.
Just make it easy. We can't really...
Take it out.
We take out what? The election of officers?
No, make it 1 year.
Limit on the officers, let the bylaws decide.
That's what they want. She knows.
Good point.
Please.
We can amend it.
Yeah.
You could do anything you want.
Can I make a motion that we amend it, that the term is
Well,
for
we
2
have to be
years?
at a...
I think we just remove it and let it...
We are
Remove it altogether?
Don't we
Let
have
the
to
bylaws...
make amendments after we're at open?
Yeah, so when we go back into... All right, so we've heard that comment. Any other comments? All right, can I have see, if there's no other comments, and that's the only comment about the term of the initial officers being 2 years as opposed to 1, then I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now that we've closed the public hearing, and before we take a vote, I'll ask if there are any amendments to the SCORE ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion, number 3, we remove the sentence, "All shall be elected for a term of 1 year."
Second.
Just remove it?
Remove it.
Just let the bylaws stand.
Let the bylaws...
There aren't any
But they're
bylaws.
going to vote on them.
Yeah, she said it's going to be...
Per this
They have to...
per this
have
ordinance, they're
bylaws.
required to
Right.
vote on them, correct?
You have to have bylaws within, what do we say, 60 days?
And the bylaws speak to the operation and
Yes.
election of officers,
Right.
so that's part of that.
Please.
So it's been moved and seconded?
Wait a minute, I'm just trying to see if this makes sense. Members of SCORE shall elect from its membership president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. All shall be elected for a term of 1 year. We want to remove that.
Yep.
A member must be a resident. All members shall hold an organization meeting within 60 days following adoption. So basically what we're saying, if that sentence gets deleted, is that the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer will only be elected for 60 days, and then there has to be
A meeting.
bylaws, and the bylaws will contain the term of the new officers.
Correct.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay,
Yep.
good. That's how I understand it then. All right, so there's a motion and a second to remove the sentence, "All shall be elected for a term of 1 year." It should really be, "shall be elected for 60 days," but we'll...
Just remove it.
Yes.
We're gonna remove it.
You want to try another...
I mean, I'm an attorney, you know...
Just feels like we're at the finish line and we're 4 feet and we're going to fall down and not get over.
No one's going to challenge the order.
Is there, I'm seeing hands go up all over the place. Now, the public hearing is closed.
Yes.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, is there a motion for final adoption?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, Stephanie.
Councilwoman Martin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dees?
Yes.
Councilman Menard?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilman Capeland?
Yes.
All right, very good. Congratulations, SCORE.
You're official.
That's next. You're not a rogue organization anymore.
They're gonna come back and say, oh, I thought we had 2 years to do 60 days.
All right, next we have bond ordinance 1825. Madam Clerk, can you read the title?
Bond ordinance in section 5 of bond ordinance number 1806 entitled, Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the borough of River Edge in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,330,000 and pay the cost thereof to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds on April 21st, 2014.
All right, can I have a motion to open this for a public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, would any member of the public like to speak on bond ordinance number 1825? All right, I don't see anybody. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion for final adoption.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for final adoption. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Stephanie.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Steve? Yes. Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Caprio?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right, next, we're up to the resolution list. Resolution by consent.
Mayor, we
yes.
need to add a resolution, I believe.
Yes, I have taken the resolution regarding Mr. Little's taxes, and I have marked it as 15-135. So if we could have a motion to include Resolution 15-135 on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Any other, any member of council would like to pull out for separate vote, consideration, or a question or discussion, any resolution on a consent agenda? Ed?
15-125, please.
15-125. That is for your purposes of your abstention?
Correct, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, let's do 15-125 first. Can I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention?
Abstention, yeah.
Okay. Can I please have a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda, excluding the payment of bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Could our finance chair move and read and move 15-134?
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee. Now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $1,101,229.16. Capital account, $1,162.50. Recreation account, $1,584.67. Animal welfare account, $209.40. Trust other account, $2,480.52. Trust other developers account, $1,940. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, now what is the pleasure of council? We can open to the public now. Please
Yes.
Please remember that we have to go back into the work session because we haven't had our discussion yet on the 24-hour issue, and we haven't discussed new business or old business. So what's the pleasure of council?
Open to the public.
Open to the public now?
Yes.
All right, can I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, we're open to the public on any issue affecting your interest. I see this gentleman whose hand was up first.
Hi, I'm Tony Arturi. I live at 171 Manning Avenue.
Thank you for the service on the zoning board, Mr. Arturi.
Well, thank you for affording me that service, and I'm very impressed with all the hard work you do. I haven't been to a council meeting here, and tough job. So I want to talk about the 24-hour ordinance right now. What we have in place, I think, is what should stay in place, and I have a couple of reasons for this. One, you know, it would have been great if Scholastic Books came and opened a children's bookstore on that gray hulk of a former gas station, and they put Clifford the Big Red Dog on the door and closed at 9 o'clock, right? But they didn't. We got 7-Eleven, which is a useful business coming in, trying to invest in our town, and I'm very heartened by the development that's been happening downtown, and I know that you have great plans for that. I think, though, that you know, it's pretty self-evident that we don't have exactly a thriving business community from Midtown up. We have a business community, but it's not exactly great guns, right? And we have that dead spot, which has been here almost as long as I've lived here, and I've been here 12, 14 years, something like that. I don't know how long it's been dead. It's been a while. So these people come in. I imagine it's a franchisee with some money, because they're not mostly company stores. I don't know all the details. I do think, though, that that ground is probably contaminated from the gas station and what have you. They're willing to invest here. And we've been talking to them on and off. I remember the article in the Town News from several years ago about this being a potential 7-Eleven site. 7-Eleven, almost anybody knows, although oddly enough they were founded with the Howards being 7-Eleven, but that's besides the point. It's a 24-hour business nearly anywhere, right? It's like having a hog farm come in and going like, oh, I don't like the smell of hogs, after they've already gone through the planning process. I think it sends a bad message to potential future investors in our town that we're even threatening to move the goalposts at this point. It's, you know, we were aware of this. The time for making adjustments to the ordinances that are, you know, affect the operation, I feel is past. We had that time when they came to us. So I think it's a bad idea. When I think that there is real hope that we continue to see new shoots going up Kinder Kamak, and I feel that we will repoison the ground in a figurative sense, ground that's already in a livable sense. I know that, again, it would have been nice if it was a children's bookstore. But the other thing is that I think that people, you know, have concerns like, oh, you know, bring in people, what have you. Nobody commutes to the convenience store. The surrounding communities all have 24-hour stores, with the exception, I think, of Oradell. But they have ones that are close by in both New Milford and Paramus, depending on where they are. There are people, it's a county road. We would like it to have more business. We could have a business there that not only we would enjoy the use of, because I think everybody would, or many of us would, but we would also have, you know, people aren't going to make a special trip to go to that 7-Eleven very much if they're from the neighboring communities, as I said, possibly Oradell. But we do have traffic going to 4, Kinder Kamak, as we all know, and by the way, I'm well pleased that you were able to influence the county to get it down to 30 miles an hour, but it's a major path to get to our highway system, and I think it would be good to have a business, people will start stopping, other businesses will see a business thrive. I think it's all good. Would it be my first choice? No, like I said, I'd take the Big Red Dog, but we don't have that. We have somebody who's already breaking ground. It's not the time to move the goalpost. We threaten to poison business climate. If I'm doing, I'll shut up in a second, but if I'm doing due diligence, me, to invest in a business in this town, I don't have to dig too deep to see that after somebody invested a lot of money through the planning process, we're now toying with their essential business model. Again, it's 7-Eleven. They're open 24 hours nearly everywhere. It's like telling a hog farmer, take out the stink. That's all I got. Thank you.
Yes.
Joseph Dunsey, 151 Concord Drive. First of all, I'd like to second the opinion just expressed by my compatriot. It was put very well. I came here tonight mostly to talk about bike lanes, bike paths, and CLOVS. At the last environmental committee meeting. We didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't actually vote on official stuff, but we did decide to have a bike ride. It's going to be in Van Son Park the last Sunday of this month, March 29th, 2 p.m. There's a notice in the library, and it's been in the town news in the Crier. We're just going to meet at the ticket booth of the Bergen County Zoo. Yeah. And then we'll ride down to the duck pond, around and back. And it's going to start with a very brief environmental teach-in, because I know people are often late.
What time on the 29th?
2 p.m.
2 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
So I hope to see you guys there. Now, the second thing I brought up at the meeting, and we just had one or two comments, but we couldn't really endorse it because we didn't have the quorum. In January, I sent an email to the Hackensack Mayor and Council. They don't have an environmental commission there, but that's a long story. But they do have an IT guy who loves to ride bicycles. So he and I talked about it for a bit, and this is just a very rough idea. It'll probably change a lot, but I'm keeping you posted. My idea was there would be a bike path starting close to the Target and the old train station that's now a craft store, and go up Main Street north, then over to Kinderkamak. Now, this property here around Zabrowski Street and east of Kinderkamak, currently the county owns it. They're giving it to Hackensack, and Hackensack's going to have a developer come in and develop it. So this is kind of an opportunity to get some sort of bike path in, because it can be tied to the development. So the critical part is having the bike path and a walkway off the road on the east side of Kinderkamak from that property that's going to get developed under Route 4 to the Newbridge Landing train station. This will make it much easier for people to get to the train station without using their cars. It affects River Edge and Hackensack. And so you'll get a more complete report after it's gone through the Environmental Commission and we could vote on it. I'm just giving you that update that it's so far just my idea.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, the great thing about doing stuff like the bike ride is I had a reason to talk to environmentalists in Bergen County about the bike ride. And last week when I spoke to one of the Hackensack River keepers about it, he loved the idea of the bike ride, and he told me that he's trying to get the Hackensack River walkway extended from Hackensack all the way to Oradell. I don't know if you've been there. Right now it goes from Johnson Park across the street from the Steers in Hackensack, and then goes along through the campus of FDU and stops at Route 4. So I think that would be a great idea. I know it's late, so I won't go into details, but I was wondering what you think of that.
We had Charles Mattson here from the county, I would say circa 1985, who made the same proposal to council at that time. So it's an idea that's been around for many, many, many years, doing a bike path all the way up.
Okay.
We probably have a project file on it, with some information in it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Adam Herbst.
You're next, man.
Sorry. Adam Herbst, 13B Colonial Court. I also wanted to speak to the 24-hour proposal. I have no, I understand that 7-Eleven has gone through a lot of work to get to where they are, and no interest in moving the goalposts per se. I agree with my earlier colleague. However, I want to mention that this is a balancing test type of issue, in that we do want to bring in more of a tax base. However, there's a quality of life issue at the other end. I'm sure you all know that. I just want to reiterate it and say that whenever anything is considered in the future for 24-hour issues, that it goes through close examination.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Diana Janis. I'm the new community manager for Millbrook Village Townhomes. I'm just following up on a letter that the Townhouse Association received dated August 12th regarding some paving projects that are coming up in 2015, and I wanted to address, hopefully, the town engineer to evaluate the entrance to Millbrook Village Townhomes to possibly be repaved in that 2015 project.
Alan?
It's on our list this year, so when we get into the Riverside Cooperative Program, that's one of the areas that's we plan to pave. The entranceway, not the whole
Right,
loop.
so it's just the entranceway.
Yep.
It's in pretty poor condition, and it's obviously after...
It's on the list this year.
It's
Do
on...
you have a date possibly that would, just so I can put it in my tickler?
I don't have it with me, but the cooperative, who we go out with, there's 16 other towns in the cooperative. We have a schedule for advertising and receiving bids. Probably receive bids in May, do paving thereafter.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for that. And I wanted to also inquire with Councilwoman Bastide. I know you're on the safety committee. And I wanted to address the possibility of adding additional street lighting on that corner going in. It's very dark. Coming in off Kinderkamak, we can have possibly a hazardous situation with our residents walking there.
If I could just answer that. A member of our Traffic and Safety Committee is a resident of your community, and that's on the list for new business.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
What's your name again?
Diana Janos, Janos.
Hi there. Deborah Guest, 100 Elizabeth Street. Just one question. Main Street in River Edge is very busy, as I'm sure everybody is aware. And we do have a problem turning into our street, especially on Saturday, in light of Total Wine expansion, CBS opening up, all these other businesses. My understanding is it's the county's road, and they would be the ones who would put in a do not block the box. I didn't know what the process would be. Is that something where a resident could speak to the county, or does somebody from our town research that a little bit? And
now that you mentioned it in public, sure, Councilwoman Bastide, who sits with me on the Traffic and Safety Committee, will take a note, and we'll have a member of the Traffic and Safety Committee look at the intersection of Main and Elizabeth, and then we can make an inquiry to our borough engineer, what he recommends, and then we can make a further inquiry to the county engineer, maybe set up a meeting to look at that intersection for, you're talking about left-hand turns, right?
Yep, into Elizabeth Street especially. Okay, great, thank you.
But you're looking just for signs that say don't block the intersection.
It's there, and nobody...
Well, then it becomes an enforcement issue, so we need to speak to the police chief also. So, I mean, there's nothing more, the county's not going to put a traffic signal there. So I think you have to look at other ways of doing it. And to me, it seems easier just for us to make an inquiry right to the county instead of have to go through these machinations to
If I
do
could-
something which is pretty straightforward.
I think you make a very good point about enforcement, and Officer Ariano sits on the Traffic and Safety Committee, so we can certainly
So
have
that's the way it should be.
him take a look at that.
Yes, Mr. Carroll.
Neil Carroll, 321 Wales Avenue. I just want to confirm that's left-hand turn going east from Kinderkamak Road towards Hackensack Avenue, correct?
Making the right.
Anybody else? Mr. Manzelli.
Joe Manzelli, 789 6th Avenue. Just on the 24-hour thing, I kind of agree with the other people, what they said. The only thing I would actually add to that is I think you should keep the ordinance, is possibly do something if there isn't an ordinance in place now, just about the lighting, because I do know like the diner, the lights kind of dim during on the road, just kind of the quality of life, just so it's not this big bright neon lights and all for 7-Eleven. Gosh, I just forgot the other point.
The proposal is to keep the ordinance.
Right.
The proposal is to make a change in the ordinance so that there are some restrictions when there are businesses that want to open up 24 hours within a number of feet of a residential area. So you don't have the sound and the bright light shining in your bedroom window and the extra traffic. You know, that I thought it was a reasonable restriction.
I guess the other side of it all too is I think most businesses and all too, if they can't survive 24 hours, they will shut down because they're not going to stay open. So that's just the other comment.
If you can't have a successful business and operate from 5 a.m. to midnight, then there's something wrong with your business model.
I guess emergency rooms in 24 hours, CVS don't apply.
All right, anybody else would like to speak? Mr. Arturi.
Just to say, I think it might be feasible to approach 7-Eleven as a good neighbor to do some kind of light calming. They're going to be the only game in town anyway, so, I mean, I think that while the ordinance is worth considering beyond this development. All right, that's all.
Yeah, because, you know, we have 10 new stores that are going to be opening up down at the south end of town. And it's time to get into it. Paramus doesn't have a 24-hour ordinance. There's no 24-hour operation in Paramus. 24-hour fitness is not open 24 hours.
Is 7-Eleven isn't open?
No.
Oh, by the fashion center?
24 hours?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Let me Google.
Paramus.
Mayor?
Yes.
This is a point of clarification. I sat on the planning board when 7-Eleven on Kinderkamak Road came to the planning board to get approval for a sidewalk-mounted signage. And despite our best trying, we were told that if we didn't approve the sign to be lit 24 hours, it would be a deal breaker. So I think I was in the minority, but the lighting of the signage, this is after a previous planning board approved an incredible amount of foot candles that can be seen from outer space, as far as I'm concerned. The signage itself, whether it was visible or not, because you're going to park a car in front of it, no one is going to see the sign that comes down Kinderkamak Road or up, was approved for 24 hours. So talk about moving the goalpost. We can't. We kind of gave 7-Eleven the 24-hour in that case. And I was also addressing your comment about the signage itself. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, anybody else? Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to adjourn the public meeting and go back into the work session if we need to.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to thank the members of the public for appearing tonight. Our meetings are always better when we have concerned citizens who come and voice their opinion one way or another. It keeps the public elected officials on our toes. You hold our feet to the fire. It makes us better public servants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. But there's so much more to talk about. Where's everybody reading? We're not done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's general
We have a pastrami on rye.
You know, that
I think we can amend the bylaws that we have to 10 o'clock to get refreshments.
Don't we have a time limit on bylaws?
Yes, 10 o'clock.
Yes, we have to vote to go longer than 10 o'clock. It's now 10:15.
Well, I'd like to go a little longer. I have some new business.
Okay,
I've been asked to
then
bring
we
it.
are up to new business.
No, we first have to vote to extend the meeting.
Yes.
For the bylaws.
I vote to extend the meeting, or make a motion to extend the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, it's fine, you just need to technically...
We're into new business.
Okay, new business.
What do we have? Ellen?
Thank you. I'm bringing a few things to the...
Wait,
coun-
Mayor, we didn't go through old business.
I just want to ask you for your information, old business is not on my agenda.
It's not, but it is...
I didn't call it. Not on my agenda.
There's no heading, but the items are there.
Yeah.
The items there...
On the original one.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to, real quick, a long time ago, not a long time ago, some time ago, we were approached by the storm drain flap, I don't know how to refer to it better than that is down by the boat launch, and I believe there was going to be some research as the storm drain empties into...
Yeah, we wrote a letter to the county asking for information, they haven't responded.
That's what I wanted to know. The county responded.
You're talking about the one at the end of Main Street, not at the boat launch.
I thought it was a flat. The flat.
No, but you said the boat launch, you mean the boat launch? It was
By the swim club. It's the one by Maine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, I got it confused. That was, what, several months ago?
Yeah, at least.
Could we send a follow-up letter?
Second letter? Sure.
I don't know if anybody's awake.
Copy that with the first letter. Will do.
All right, any other old business? Any other old business? All right, Kathleen, you have a matter of old business?
Yes, old business from about 5 minutes ago. The 24-hour 7-Eleven in Paramus is open 24 hours. 67 East Ridgewood Avenue. That's old business.
I guess you'll be there. I guess you'll be there after the meeting.
Perhaps I will. I just had a couple of other things. I saw on the bill list that the fuel pumps were out of order down at the DPW. Do you know anything about that, Alan?
No.
We had a bill
Guess that's
for...
to repair them.
That's what, yeah, would make sense. But do you know how long it was out of business? How can we find the details of that?
The liaison to the Department of Public Works would ask the question tomorrow. That's right.
Also, on the bill list, there was a bunch of errors with deposits into wrong accounts. Do you know why?
Occasionally happens.
Seems to have a lot more this month.
Well, perhaps. It occasionally happens. We straighten it out before the end of the year.
And we had one bill from a cleaning company called Nice and Easy. Do you know, they cleaned, I believe, the DPW for 1 month. It was a 600.
Oh, that was here.
It was here.
Yeah, our custodian was on sick leave, I believe, workers' comp leave. So they came in and did cleaning of the toilets because we have public meetings in the building.
So that was $790 to clean the toilets? 630, I'm sorry.
For how long was it? A week?
It said 1 month, I think. 630 was the amount.
Building and the other building.
For a month or a week?
I believe it was a week. Most of it was in the police department though.
Good, because I've never seen that company listed before on the bill list.
No, it's, we were without an individual to do that cleaning. As I said, we had the expectation of the public coming into these buildings, court, and zoning and planning, and council meetings, and the police usage of some of those bathrooms, so we felt it important to spend the money and get those facilities clean.
The name of the business owner is Mike Walker.
I wasn't aware of that.
So I was just curious. If you pull the bill out, you can look at it. I've never seen the name and I never saw it, so I just looked it up and that's what I found.
Interesting.
That's it, thank you.
Any other old business, new business? Ellen?
Thank you. The Traffic and Safety Committee, as I mentioned, met a few weeks ago, and I've been asked to bring a few things to the council's attention for possible further discussion or further study. The first one is on Continental Avenue, heading towards Kinderkamak, the new striping, the yellow double line, and the turn. Both members of the ambulance corps, I know Neil is here from emergency service, and Officer Ariano, there's a concern that that left-hand lane is way too wide, and we'd like to have Rob Costa take a look at whether or not we can narrow that, or even perhaps put a left-hand turn painting on Kinderkamak. So
the center line is too far to the north.
Too far,
Yes.
correct. And it's also creating a turning problem
I
from
brought that to
Kinderkamak.
Mr. Costa's attention.
Okay. It doesn't look like anything's been done,
No,
but...
because it has to physically be ground out and then redone, but he's aware of it.
Can we find out from Mr. Costa what his plans are, timing is to correct that problem?
Okay.
Alan? Okay. Secondly, the reps from Millbrook mentioned, and the Traffic and Safety also is concerned about the lighting on Kinderkamak and Continental, that trying to cross the street, it's very dark, and if we could possibly have PSC&G look at increasing the wattage of those lights.
Where was that?
Continental and Kinderkamak.
So the Cobra heads?
Yes.
Do you want them to evaluate it?
Yes. I know that they were evaluated and improvements were made in other areas this past year. The third thing, and I already talked with Councilman Mignon about this during the week, we had an incident last week at the middle school on Woodland Avenue where students were being dropped on Woodland Avenue and having to cross over mounds of snow because there's only 2 clearings on that sidewalk and lots of ice on the sidewalk. We had incidents of kids falling, and I know the sidewalk is the responsibility of the school, and they did take action in about 24 hours after it was brought to their attention, and we thank them for that. But we wanted to possibly sit down with DPW, Chief Caridi, talk about the drop-off procedures on Woodland when the area between the sidewalk and the curb is so snow-covered, to try to improve how the children are getting to the middle school. So Ed and I talked about this. We thought it would be productive for Alan to set something up with John Lynch, Ed, myself, and Chief Caridi, and possibly if someone from the schools wanted to come to participate.
Tom Bonfiglio.
Yep, he was helpful to us in getting the
He's the man.
corrected. Yep. So if you could set something up, Alan, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, anything else? Any other new business? All right.
Sorry, I just have one other thing. The farmer's market, can I speak about that?
Yeah.
Okay, we,
It's old business.
Old business? Did we already do old business?
There isn't a title
I'll
on the
make
page,
it-
so...
I'll make it new business now. The new and improved farmer's market.
Okay. It's freezing.
It was so successful, we are hoping to do it every Tuesday, starting June 9th to October 6th, and we would have 10 to 15 vendors, so I just want to put that on the radar.
Is there a plan on charging the vendors this year?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
My colleague was approached by Paramus, and now she will also be doing the Paramus market. So we're going to use their...
I've gotten a request from 2 restaurant owners that they want to compete against me at the farmer's market in a cooking demonstration.
Well, this is, since we had it last year for the one day, and it was Thursday, this year we'd like to do it Tuesdays and every week, Tuesday, June 9th to Tuesday, October 6th. And it would be 10 to 15 vendors on a regular basis. So,
Okay, good.
thank you.
Anything else? All right. We did that. Open meeting, close the meeting. Any council comments this evening?
I just want to say thank you to the Bergenfield, the town of Bergenfield for having the St. Patrick's Day Parade. It was a great event. There was a lot of people. Everyone had a nice time. And hopefully next year we can have more people from River Edge marching.
Yeah, it would be good to have a River Edge contingent.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up at the Bergenfield St. Patty's Day Parade with my sash donned and found out that none of the Bergenfield mayor or council had sashes, so everybody was looking at me suspiciously, and I had to actually give my sash to the mayor so that he could be appropriately recognized. And they're far more dysfunctional than we could ever be. We're a model mayor and council compared to what's going on in Bergenfield and New Milford. But my idea, after looking at the St. Patty's Day sashes that were worn by the officials, they were wider than our sashes, and they had 3 colors on them, the colors of the Irish flag. So I was thinking, since our
Green, white, and gold.
Our sashes are from the year 1990.
What'll happen when these chairs go, we'll put the sashes on.
Our sashes are 25 years old, and it's time to get a new sash. I believe that there's money in the council budget.
No, you didn't want them in the budget, remember? Kathleen wanted to buy the sashes, you said no.
Let's get new chairs.
Said no?
Yes, you did, you were against it.
I don't remember being against it. Let's go back to the video.
Yes.
So I thought Since we only wear our sashes for Memorial Day and the 4th of July, which are two patriotic holidays, we can order new sashes that are red, white, and blue,
Yes.
and have our positions on it. So I would like
Good with
to
that.
make that motion.
Second.
This is required budget
Get it done.
amendment.
No, there's money in the council line.
You have to bite the chairs.
I think it's going to finance committee for review, doesn't it?
Kathleen, you can't make the motion, you're making it, somebody else.
I made it the last meeting,
Yeah.
that
I'll
I would
second.
invest it, we should look
All
at...
right, we have a motion and a second for three-color patriotic sashes.
Good quality sashes that'll go another 30 years.
Yeah,
What about
nope.
tiaras or something else to complement them?
If you need a tiara, Ed,
Not for
we
me,
could
but maybe
really
some of us might be a
appropriate
little
for
more
that.
prima donnish than
I'm
others.
hungry.
Once every 25 years. All right, any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, any other council comments? I want to recognize the two new sergeants that we have, and I want to recognize Scout Packs 95 and 229 for their conduct of and our two new foremen, and the reappointment of our OEM coordinator. That's all I have. Anybody else?
Ditto.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We're going to
Do we have to
closed
go to closed session?
Yeah, we have a closed session. We do?
Can I pick a tune? I gotta pick a tune.
Oh.
Sorry.